here.
I'm addicted to the thrill.
Uh-huh.
It's a dangerous love affair. Victories within the mile. Almost there, don't give a
So, you know what we're gonna do? See you in Fayetteville. See you in Fayetteville. Hogs by 9.
Behind Natty!
Who's gonna run this town tonight?
Now, entering Natty State Studio, the sports media palace of Mid-America, the Wolf of Center Street, here's your host, John Nabors.
And welcome into the John Nabors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, of course, John Nabors, and we're going to have a lot to talk about here on this Tuesday, but thank you to everyone for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. And boy, do we have plenty to talk about. We're going to look around the world of sports, get into not only a little bit of the Arkansas Razorback side of things, a little football news too. Some of the big award. It's not an award, it's an accomplishment, but we'll talk about that. As well as some other interesting bits going around the entire landscape of the sports world, specifically the college sports world. And we want to hear from you, so get in our comments section there. We're, of course, live on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, all that stuff. So be sure to check it out, follow us, and we'll try to get to all your comments and your questions as best as we can. But we have to start today with a particular topic that is one I didn't think we'd even have to discuss at any point in time. But as we established here on this show at least, the one thing we want to do each and every day is to be able to talk about whatever you, the people in Arkansas or Arkansas fans in general, are talking about. Even though it may be crazy, even though it may have no reason to believe that it's true, but because it is topics, because it is what we do here, and we want to make sure that we're discussing the things that everybody wants to know about and hear about, that's what we're going to do today. And for those of you who are looking at the title of this stream, you will see that it's about Eric Musselman, the Razorback basketball coach, and will he leave the University of Arkansas after this year? Now, let me be clear. This is not something that I have put up as far as, wouldn't that be fun? We're not doing anything. Let's go ahead and start some rumors about possible Eric Musselman leaving Arkansas just for the funsies of it, because that's what we do. It's not the case at all. The reason we're going to be discussing this today is because at least in the last 24 to 48 hours, there have been a lot of speculation about it. Not just from social media standpoint, but getting text messages and hearing discussions from people who are in the know, might be in the know, or at least pretty high up there in the University of Arkansas landscape, that the possibility of Eric Musselman leaving after this season is just that, a possibility. And some of it have been really revved up here recently. And as they say, where there's smoke, there is fire. Now, I don't want Eric Musselman to leave Arkansas. I love what Eric Musselman's been able to do here at the school. He's a fine coach who's done a really great job of elevating Arkansas back into the landscape of what they need and should be at in the college basketball world. He has proven year after year that not only can you be able to win at a high clip at the University of Arkansas, but you can bring some of the highest level talent into the city of Fayetteville, and that includes guys that are getting drafted into the NBA each and every year. Eric Musselman's proven that. And it's amazing to believe that this is just his fifth year. His first year, of course, at the end of it was canceled to COVID, which they 100% would have made the NCAA tournament then. But in the times that they did make the NCAA tournament, the worst finish they had was the Sweet 16. Not too bad. But now, because of the way that the season's gone this year, and hearing about all the speculation surrounding not only particular individual players like a Devo Davis leaving the program, as we discussed yesterday, but also a lot of the toxicity that seems to be oozing from the university inside of that locker room, it is just too much to not be able to discuss and not be able to wonder, is this the end? Is this the beginning of the end? Is this the beginning of an avalanche, of a snowball effect, a domino effect that's just going to keep going and going and going until it's all said and done, and we're looking back and being like, wow, that was a crazy month and a half of wild drama surrounding it. Now, I have not covered a whole lot of things in the University of Arkansas landscape compared to some others. But I do remember some other sagas that were pretty controversial, and especially ones that ended up ending
pretty wildly. You think about to the Gus Malzahn, Houston Nutt, Springdale 5 scenario, how insane that was during the season. You think back to the Bobby Petrino scandal, of course, getting in a motorcycle accident, and then the John L. Smith era and how insane that ended up being. And now it kind of feels like this could have the makings of something similar, where it ends up, there starts out being speculation, it starts out being rumors, it starts out being harmless enough that maybe it's just people trying to get some clicks and trying to get people to talk about certain things and discuss it. But the thing is like, the longer you go without giving any sort of answers, any concrete answers or any concrete statements, to be able to put all of the rumors and speculation that may be swirling around to bed, then it's just going to continue to build. I'm not blaming anybody for the statements that they've made. I'm not blaming Eric Musselman or blaming the Razorback basketball program for being vague in the statements that they've made and the surrounding turmoil. Some of this stuff is really difficult to talk about and really difficult to acknowledge and really difficult to even fathom. But the more that this keeps going, the more that the pressure is going to be on for answers. And I'm not talking about from us. I'm talking about from the University of Arkansas. Devo Davis is not a part of this program, and we still don't know why. And that's still going to be a story. And the rumors and speculation about Eric Musselman's job have been surrounding so much that at some point in time, he will be asked about it. It could be as soon as after the Missouri game tomorrow night. You know, depending on how the game goes, maybe it won't be the first question, but I believe that if it continues to build like it is, then Eric Musselman's going to be asked, hey, what's the situation with your job status at Arkansas? Are you happy at Arkansas? Do you want to continue at Arkansas? Do you want to be at Arkansas next season? Something like that may be asked. And the most fascinating thing is going to hear Eric Musselman's response. Because say what you want about Muss knows how to get in front of the camera. He knows how to do things a certain way, and he knows how to make sure that the answers and the way things are formatted are done in a way that is either beneficial to him or also beneficial to those in the situation. I think he'll be asked about it. But if you're asking my gut feeling right now, where it stands this season, where it stands with Muss, I got a bad feeling about this. Those of you who are watching Star Wars probably have heard that a few times. I do have a bad feeling about this. There's too much smoke surrounding this fire. Again, I hope he doesn't leave. But it certainly seems like it's coming from somewhere. And it could all be put to rest. It all could be made silent if some sort of statement or some sort of question is answered. But until that time happens, we're just going to sit here and continue to wonder and think about the possibilities of what if Eric Musselman leaves Arkansas? What if after his fifth year with so much drama and turmoil and a terrible season that is, comparatively speaking, how will that leave the lasting legacy of Eric Musselman at Arkansas? That's the ultimate question right now. So let's discuss it a little bit further as we welcome in two of the guys that know all about it, and I'm sure they're going to break down and give you all the things that they know and maybe the inside scoop. Of course, it is Andrew Ellis and Scotty Bordelin. So,
Curtis,
what's going on? Yeah, let's say we need to bring in Curtis for this. Try to bring in the A team here, but you know these guys, Andrew and Scotty, know their stuff too.
No more speculating. It's now you're going to know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
we
now,
know.
Yeah, I set you guys up. Now you guys can set me straight.
You want to know the answer? We just got off the phone with them. We know.
Yeah. Let's say who's your sauces that you guys have been talking to? But you've been hearing the same things I have. You've been getting hit up about the same things I have. So what do you make of these speculation, rumor, all of that stuff? Where is it at right now?
You go first, Scotty. I'll let you handle it first.
Oh my gosh! People probably wish that they would have been in our group chat last night, if I had to guess. But yeah, like going back to you saying that you hope Eric doesn't leave. I hope he doesn't leave either. Personally, selfishly, Eric's been really good to me every year that he's been here. I remember after his first season, obviously it was cut short because of COVID, mid-SEC tournament, and then, the Zoom phenomenon started, and we got him on a Zoom, a couple days after their season officially ended, and I asked him a question. It's like, what did you learn about yourself as a coach this year? And he did, in the moment, didn't really have an answer for it. And then probably about 30 minutes after the Zoom ended, he texted me and was like, good job stumping me with that question. And so our relationship, I feel like, has been, good from the jump. And just me and Curtis have talked about this maybe a little bit, just the thought of, potentially having to build new relationships with people on a brand new staff would suck, I guess. But, it is what it is. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Would it surprise me if he's gone after this season? Absolutely not. I mean, the man's a Rolling Stone. Has been his entire career. I mean, that's what people, other than taking his shirt off and winning postseason games and, knowing how detailed he is, that's what they know him for, is just moving around.
So you're going full on eulogy, huh? You're like driving him to
This
the
is the-
airport.
this is
You're
the
like,
end.
Muss, you need a ride. I'll take you, man. Hey, good times. Appreciate you for your work. We're out of here, man. But no, I mean, I think it's anyone who's like of the mentality that he's absolutely staying and is locked into Fayetteville no matter what. I don't know how you could say that realistically, or I'm not saying he's for sure gone, but I agree that signs seem to be pointing that way. His track record seems to indicate that, he doesn't like to sit still for too long. And look, that's part of what makes Muss special, is that he's always the gears are turning. He's always thinking of his next move and what's the next challenge he can take on in his career. And I mean, guys like him who are just driven and wired a little bit differently, they're always thinking of the next challenge. And so I'm sure if you're Eric Musselman, you're probably thinking about your time at Arkansas, and obviously this is a tough year that he's not having a ton of fun during, and I bet he's probably wondering, have I accomplished what I can accomplish at Arkansas? Have we kind of just reached a stopping point here? Who knows? And I would imagine, I'm not saying he's gone, but I think he's going to listen to offers, and I think there's a reason that he is. I mean, the guy is leaving stuff open, and he's not locked into a 10-year deal that he can't get out of. I think that he keeps his options open in the portal. He keeps his option open with his roster. I think in life, that's just kind of how he approaches it. And hard to argue with what the man does. But I would also recommend anyone that's expecting a real definitive answer on this in the next 3 days, or we're going to find out soon. Relax. This is about to be a roller coaster. Pace yourselves. It's never the first job you hear. It's the first rumor you hear of the offseason is never the rumor.
Yeah.
I mean, if that were the case, Gus Malzahn would be
Oh my
preparing for his
gosh, yeah.
first spring practice as the head coach at Arkansas.
This is for the 6th time or whatever it is.
And I would also say this, John, and look, there's plenty of people, for instance, Curtis has tons of people that he talks to that are very in the know. He has people that are very close to situations, and so when Curtis says something, I listen. When you say something, I listen. There's a lot of guys who it's you can tell they're getting real information. But I would say that anyone who tries to look you in the eye and say they know for sure what's about to happen with this situation is lying through their teeth. And that includes Danielle Musselman. If she tells you, oh yeah, I know for sure how everything's about to play out, she probably doesn't know. I don't think Eric Musselman knows. So it's anyone who's coming to you right now and is oh, it's a done deal. He's headed. He's already packed his bags, or no, he's staying for sure. They know for sure what's about to happen these next
Working
6
overtime on
weeks,
his exit strategy.
12 weeks. Yeah, it's anyone who thinks that this is definitive and this is a done deal anyway. There's a lot that's going to happen. So I would say just pace yourselves. It's going to be an interesting ride. It's going to be an interesting offseason regardless of what happens. Even if he stays, he's going to have more questions this offseason than he's ever had before. And if he doesn't, then the entire program has a lot of questions to answer.
I think it would be fair to say feelers have been put out or are being put out. I mean, that's more than fair.
Yeah.
Easily more than fair.
Well, and see, this is I know we're going to get to your comments, folks, because you got a lot of them, I'm sure, very upset with us even talking about this. But again, there's reasons why we are talking about it. But the way I've always looked at it is when you're Muss. Muss didn't come to Arkansas because of some connection that he had to the state. It wasn't like Mike Anderson coming home. It wasn't anything like that.
But Danielle did have family down in Magnolia, buddy.
Well, because of that, maybe that's what keeps him. Is because
That's why
of
he
that.
moved to the northwest part of the state.
Yeah,
Right.
That's
She picked that place. Of all the places that she's got connections to, her and Muss, they were Magnolia, Arkansas, the hometown of Matt Goodhart. That's where we want to go.
Yeah, that's right. And we're never going to leave after we go there. We're there forever. That's not the case. And I'm not naive enough to ever believe that. I would have bet, even no matter what the year was, Muss was going to leave Arkansas for another job at some point in time. It was going to happen. I didn't know if it'd be in the NBA. I didn't know if it would be another high-level college basketball job. Somebody just throwing it out there. But if a UCLA came calling, I would be upset. I'd be bummed. But I'm hey, I get it. West Coast guy. UCLA's a big program. It all makes sense. But it's the timing of it all. This is where going into this year, if you were going to tell me, okay, hey, Razorback basketball team is going to have its worst year under Eric Musselman. There's a lot of drama surrounding it. Devo Davis is going to leave the team in the middle of the year. And on top of all of that, Eric Musselman's going to leave at the end of the season to go for another job. I'd be like, no, that's not going to happen. None of that's going to happen. But here's the thing. Nothing this season has happened the way that we thought it would. So why wouldn't it be the same thing with Muss leaving? You know what I'm saying? Like, none of the things that we thought, where we didn't come out of just willy-nilly. Like, we went into it with legitimate reasons and logic to believe how this season was going to go, how it was going to look, how good it was going to be, and none of that has happened. None of it has happened. So why shouldn't we also take into consideration the possibility of Eric Musselman leaving Arkansas after this season isn't 100% on the table, because even if he doesn't leave, which again, I hope he doesn't. I think we all hope he stays, because Eric Musselman's been good to me. He invited me to his Halloween party. He said I could come next year too. Yep. So you owe me that, Muss.
Eric Musselman, he gave my son a kidney. We're bonded for life.
Thank you, Andrew, for that.
He texted me on my birthday once. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, he kissed my child. But yes, it was. But still, as much as everybody wants him to stay, you still have to look at reality. And the reality is that, does he end up staying? Sure, of course, there's a chance he ends up staying. But I also won't be surprised if he leaves. That's where I'm at. I hope he stays. He absolutely still could stay. Yeah. But let's be honest. If he leaves, I don't think any of us are just going to be like, oh, what's his name from Tennessee baseball after he got ejected against Notre Dame? Like, just shocked, like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Well, I didn't see this come. Like, it's a reality that we have to address.
Yeah, and no doubt, like, obviously, Muss is the man. He's a tremendous coach. Like, I love covering him. Like, I love being around him. He's just a fun figure, a fun personality to watch play out. And him being at Arkansas has been like a match made in heaven, honestly. Just him with the fan base and two lunatics together that have this weird love-hate relationship. But, I'm kind of with you guys where it's like, I can't wait to see his reaction. Like when he's asked about it at a press conference, because we were kind of speculating about when this might happen. And, I think that Wednesday after the Missouri game, we might not get a question about it.
I don't know if that's the time to do it.
But I wouldn't be stunned if by Saturday, if there's not a press conference between Wednesday and Saturday, I mean, would you be stunned if on Saturday after the LSU game, if Bob's not dropping a little, hey, Muss, there's been rumors. I wouldn't be stunned.
I mean, if Arkansas wins Wednesday, the likelihood of a Zoom either Thursday or Friday is much, much, much higher than it is after a loss. And so it could come before that LSU game.
Yeah, but I mean, you just think about how much the internet, I mean, this is all kind of ramped up real quick here. I mean, even from just 2 weeks ago when we first started this operation, the world was very different. But just think about by the time Saturday rolls around, say Arkansas, even if they had beaten Missouri or say they lose to Missouri, whatever you want to say, between now and Saturday, there's going to be so much speculation, so many rumors, so many memes made, so many whatever. Like, this thing will probably be even more off the rails. And so I think it'll get to the point where, like, he's going to have to say something. And look, I don't expect him to come out Saturday and be like, yep, guys, I'm out of here. Or, yep, guys, I'm staying for sure. I think he's probably going to deflect, which most coach, I mean, that's what you should do. If you're a coach being asked about your job in the middle of the season, probably say, let's talk about this at a later date. But I think his reaction and the way that he, his body language, like there's going to be things that we will be able to pick up on. And so it's like, it's going to be a fascinating thing. And by the way, for everyone in the comments asking, why are we talking about this? Have you not been watching the same season that we have? Like, I think it's very obvious something is going on. And so it's going to be a fascinating offseason regardless of if he stays or goes.
Well, and that's the thing too, real quick, is that just to address this, we're not bringing this out in thin air. It's not like we're just like, oh, man, we're bored. What are we going to talk about today? Yeah, what if Muss leaves? Oh, yeah, they'll get the clicks. Like, no, there's been legitimate questions and legitimate discussion about this over the past 24, 48 hours. In the past 24 hours, it's really revved up. I mean, I've gotten text messages from people that I know and trust that are like, I'm hearing this. And so it's a legit reason to believe it.
My mom texted me this morning and said, you reading this stuff about Coach Muss on Twitter? I'm like,
I love people that do that, where they're like, have you heard about it?
It's like, but no, in terms of like, let me know. What do you mean? I never heard this.
You were talking about what kind of a reaction you could get from Eric. He's a pro, right? And so he's going to get the question, I'm sure, and he's going to be like, I don't really have a comment on that. Honestly, I'm just, right now I'm worried about who my point guard's going to be for LSU and whether we can, defensive rebound well enough to, maybe win a road game this year.
Yeah, that's
And
probably what he's going to do.
That's probably the right answer. Like, I don't think anybody should be, if you're going to be mad Saturday that you don't have a definitive answer, I'll go ahead and save you the time. You're not going to get one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And, guys, we're not saying like a specific, like, oh, he's definitely going to Louisville.
Right.
He's definitely going to UCLA, which might not even be an open job. USC maybe is the one. I think that's the LA school you need to watch out for. But look, we're not even responding to like one specific rumor, because there's been every one you can imagine. Like, there's been every school mentioned that might have a job opening. So we're just talking about the offseason in general. Again, even if he stays, it's going to be a fascinating roller coaster to watch, because he's going to have to answer a ton of questions about the roster and just the coaching staff and kind of how this program rebounds moving forward.
Yeah,
so,
because it literally has not been a good last 13 months for the program, other than the Kansas win.
And look,
It
and
hasn't.
look, I wasn't saying this in the offseason, so I'm not trying to do this is obviously in hindsight. I'm not claiming that I was saying this all along, but when they missed out on Grant Nelson and the Ron Holland thing kind of fell through, that was a time where I remember being like, oh, this is a little interesting.
I think
Obviously,
that
you
stung a little.
give them the benefit of the doubt. And again, like John said, we all expected them to be a very good team this year, a top 15 team. Like I think most people did, at the very least, a tournament team. But yeah, I didn't realize at the time just how south this could go. And we were kind of joking earlier in the office about how we opened this whole operation on January 15th, and they were coming off of losses to Florida and Georgia, and we were like, oh, so this is like the worst possible time to be doing this. We did not realize it could literally get worse, and it has.
Yeah. And I want to throw this in there too, because this is kind of the question that I wanted to translate it to, where we're talking about, will Muss leave or whatever. So the question is now why? Why would Muss leave Arkansas? Because it's now become a discussion. Why would he leave? Like, what would take him away from Arkansas? What would he find? What could be better? Like, just why would he leave Arkansas after this season? What would be the reasons?
Okay, I think the one above anything, the guy loves the West Coast. And, like, obviously he's from there. He's got people there, and he goes there plenty anyway. I mean, what game was that where he was like, oh, I got to get on a flight to San Diego or whatever?
Yeah, it was after the Wilmington game.
Obviously, the guy is a big California. He loves the West Coast. He's from there. Like, so that is always going to appeal to him. He's very open about that he's like, the only time I can unplug from basketball is when I'm on a beach or whatever. And, like, I think that's obviously going to be a huge appeal. And like I mentioned earlier, I think a new challenge and, like, kind of a fresh start, especially with how chaotic and toxic this season has been, and really last season, because last season was a disaster it wasn't a disaster for the end result. Made Sweet 16, but I mean Muss in terms of what he had to deal with of Nick Smith's situation.
I mean, they went, 7-11 in
I mean,
SEC?
like
Right, and
yeah.
it just wasn't a fun year. So I think you're talking, everybody's like, oh, it's like one bad year and he bounces. No, we're not saying that. But if you look at his career, I mean, this is one of the longest tenured jobs he's ever had.
Yeah.
It might be it's up there. And so it's like, we're basing this off of the fact that he always leaves at some point. And we're not saying he's just like a guy who runs around and doesn't care about anyone, but it's just like, he's that kind of guy who's wired that way. And do you really think that these guys who are wired that way want to just stick in one location forever? Probably not. People are always looking to advance in their careers, and I'm not saying that leaving Arkansas to go somewhere is an advancement for Muss.
I mean, we'd never do that, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not saying that it's like, oh, you got to leave Arkansas to go have success, but I just think like guys that are like Muss are always thinking of new and unique ways to have success, and so I wouldn't be stunned if he's like, hey, I'd love to see what I could do at a West Coast job if I got the chance.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's also what Arkansas's roster is gonna. What he's gonna have to do with Arkansas's
have a loaded
roster
freshman class coming in. You're gonna have to
for
rebuild
next
your whole
season.
portal anyway.
I mean, Curtis is the guy that knows recruiting more than us, and he's like, minimum 6 is could max out at 10 guys. Like, does he want to do that? I don't know. That seems like a hell of a lot of work for an offseason. Basically, just flip your entire roster.
Right.
Basically, a brand new pack of scholarship guys.
Well, yeah, and it used to be such a thing where it was like, I remember when Bobby Petrino got hired at Arkansas, and it was like, all right, year 1's going to be this, and then year 2's going to be that. And like, that's just kind of how we viewed, and that's obviously football, but I just mean in any situation, you're like, oh, year 1 is going to be X, year 2 will be Y, year 3 will be Z. And it's like, kind of that's how we view it. Nowadays, with the transfer portal and just the way that college sports are, it's like every year is almost start from scratch for every program anyway. So I just don't think it's as daunting of a task for a coach to, up and leave, especially whenever you've got a guy that has a history of moving every 3 years anyway. So it's not going to be an unusual situation for him.
Well, I want to say too, like, I have always felt like Arkansas has been and still is one of the best jobs in college basketball. Now, I'm not
Easily.
I'm not stupid to think, oh well, it goes Arkansas, then Kansas, then North. No, but if you ask me, I say Arkansas is at minimum a top 15 job in college basketball. I truly believe that, and the reason I believe that is not just because it's a biased thing, but if you think about the amount of support you get in basketball. Like Bud Walton Arena is an awesome place. You have a state-of-the-art facility, and with renovations coming to Bud Walton Arena, mind you, was it a $33 million project that they've been putting together and looking to renovate Bud Walton Arena? You have that. You have a fan base that is rabid about basketball. Like Arkansas loves everything Razorbacks, but when it comes to basketball, that is what they show out for. You have an in-state group of talent each and every year where if you don't have a five-star player coming out of this state, it's a down year. I mean, just think about not only the guys that play at Arkansas and that stay in Arkansas, but even the guys that may end up going, like a Moses Moody. I mean, that guy, think about the talent that he is and has been. And think about Bobby Portis and Daniel Gafford, just all these guys that are in the NBA that came from the state of Arkansas. You're going to get a great pay for staying as the coach. You're going to have all of these amenities that a lot of other schools don't have, wish that they did have, or have been constantly trying to work to get to that point, and they still have yet to do it. Arkansas is still an incredible job. And so that, to me, is why Arkansas is still in a position to where if they really wanted to get after, if they really wanted it, let me put it this way. If Muss left, they're still going to have a bunch of high-quality coaches wanting this job. I don't want Muss to leave. But if he did, it's not like, oh, crap. Like, it's not like a Lane Kiffin Ole Miss thing where it's like, oh, no. Like, it's not the coach making the school, even though Muss is a great coach, but the coach in the school here at Arkansas fit. And it's a thing that can keep going. But if Muss decides to leave, Arkansas is still going to be in a position to where they can hire a high-quality coach. You know how I know that? Is because they hired Muss just 5 years ago, who was a high-quality coach who was dying to have this job, and he got it, and he's done a great job.
Well, and John, you asked, like, why would Muss leave and all that. I'm sure that Ole Miss basketball fans are going to be asking themselves, oh, wait, why would Chris Beard leave? And it's like, no, duh, he's going to leave.
A little different. Yeah, a little different.
It's a little different, but I'm just saying, like, everyone who's a fan of whatever team it is, they're like, why would this coach not want to coach my team? And it's like, there's always reasons. There's always, it's a lot harder to talk yourself into staying at a place if you really think about it through that lens. And believe it or not, a lot of these coaches view it through that lens. And so it's like you said, to your point, I think it's going to be that way for a lot of coaches where they're going to look at that Arkansas job and they're like, why would I not go there? I think Chris Beard would be on that list. I think Clubber Tang, he would probably be on that list. I think I think there's plenty of guys.
Banger start to the
You could
to the
talk
list.
yourself into a lot of guys who, you could make the very easy argument Arkansas is a better job than where they're at, and they would have a hard time saying no.
Yeah. And I think Chris Beard is eventually going to want, not eventually, eventually might be the bad word, soon probably. He'd probably want out of there because, I mean, basketball at Ole Miss is probably playing third fiddle. Football, like nothing's going to top football at Ole Miss. And then baseball, clear second.
Yeah.
The most notable thing about Ole Miss basketball
Basketball
is that the Blindside dad played basketball there allegedly.
And Marshall Henderson. That's about
Marshall Henderson,
that's about the thing.
Yep.
But to your point though, Scotty, it's like I think some people maybe in Ole Miss's minds are like, hey, well, Auburn and Bama were the same way in basketball. And look what when they got Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl, and they got it going, and those guys love it there and they stay. But even then, I feel like it's a bigger stretch than because you brought up baseball and you brought up like that. It's like,
I mean,
You
we just
100% sure both of those coaches would say no to the Arkansas job definitively?
we just watched Arkansas play a 15-3 Ole Miss team last Wednesday. I saw a bunch of MTCs in that building, and that's a brand new building. Not brand new, but it's very new.
Also, just have we not learned, if you truly think your coach at whatever sport it is dead set on staying at your school, you're an idiot. Like, every sports fandom of all time can attest that, like, coaches just, like, unless it's a real special situation, it's very rare. So it's like that should not be your expected outcome of this guy's going to be the head coach forever.
Just stop being surprised.
It can happen, and it might happen, but don't expect that ever.
Just stop being surprised by stuff that happens in college sports.
Don't be surprised whenever a lot of things happen with this Arkansas basketball team.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, and it's also, too, like you bring it up, like Nick Saban even, somebody like him who stayed at Alabama, was there forever. There was a time like he was close to taking that Texas job. I don't care what anybody says. There was a time he was close, and who knows? Maybe if one or two things went a different direction, he may have become the Texas coach. And that was a guy that was there forever and had everything he had.
Well,
and
what's
won it.
LSU, a top 7 job in college football? Even at the
even higher
time
than
when he left, it was top. It might not have been as high as it is now, but it was still one of the better jobs. And he left it for the NFL. It's like coaches leave.
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, and the thing is looking at a place like LSU. When Nick Saban left, how did they do?
I would say they did pretty well.
What, 1, 2?
Yeah, they only won 2 after he left. So,
yeah,
I mean,
with 2 different
they've only
coaches.
won 2 national championships in 15 years.
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
with how many SEC West titles? Yeah, all of that while going up against Nick Saban in Alabama for most of the time. Point is, yes, Nick Saban did leave LSU, but Nick Saban did not make LSU.
Right.
And that's how it's going to be with Arkansas. Yeah. I'll want to reiterate. I don't
Muss
want Muss
equals
to leave.
Nick Saban.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. But I don't want Muss to leave.
Not the craziest comparison, honestly. I mean, it's really not.
Well, it's like I don't want Muss to leave, but I am also, maybe it's arrogance, but if he does leave, again, I feel like Arkansas will be in a position, and I trust Hunter Yurachek for all reasons. It seems like he's made good hires, especially because he made the Muss hire. I trust in him and being able to make a great hire, and I also trust that there will be his phone ringing off the hook for some high-quality guys that'll be like, hey, where can I sign right now? Get me there today. Like, there will be that element, and I
feel
think
like that's
that they'll
already
have their
happening.
options.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I agree, John. I trust Hunter Yurachek because he's made a lot of good decisions. He's done a great job. That's one guy I do not envy in the year of our Lord 2024.
Man.
He's got his work cut out for him for these next 12 months, dude. That sucks.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is that I was thinking about if Muss left, you think about it and then say if something like with Pittman got fired or something like that, or he retired or whatever, that would be the same exact span of when they both were hired. Because I remember Muss got hired first, and then Pittman got hired later that year.
Yep.
It could be the same type of time frame for different reasons and for different things that make it go that way. But like, it's amazing how this year could be a wild and insane and then crazy year, and in the middle of all that, Arkansas winning the College World Series.
I was literally just about to say, I was like, at least you're going to get that
sandwich in there between the two.
We've referenced this sandwich thing a lot too, but the
time to
baseball
launch
national
a content
titles,
company.
Yeah, it's almost like that'd be good for us and what we're trying to do. And
if there
everything.
was chaos all surrounding and then a national championship sprinkled in,
Plane tracking in Omaha, baby. That's what this year's going to be
that's what
about.
this company is built on.
Look at God. Look at what God did.
Or it can all just fall apart and the baseball team will get screwed too, and football, it'll be a disaster. That's much more likely, it seems.
Yeah, it's the most Arkansas thing ever.
Yeah, we're acting like this is about to be a great year for us. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't know where it's going to go. We have 12 games at the SEC left, right?
This is another bit we love to do.
I know. We're going to keep guessing until one time we actually get it right.
After this.
13 at least with the SEC tournament. That's a long time, guys.
Actually, I bet it's 11.
They've
That's
got
a long
11
time.
regular season games, 11 regular season games,
So 12.
and then
Because
at
they have a
least
week
one
off. They have 2 a
conference
week,
tournament.
except for the week that they only have one.
That's a long time, guys.
Yeah.
That's
the
what, 3
world
months?
is going to be way different 10 SEC games from now.
I can't wait for February 4th when people are looking at the basketball schedule and there's like, ain't there a midweek game this week?
By the way, I just want to.
No, actually, there's not.
Yeah, that is going to be funny. I just want to point out that there is a non-zero chance that the Razorbacks win like 9 of their next 10 games, and then we look back and we're like, remember when everybody was throwing accusations about the player's sexuality and saying Muss needed to leave, and we'll be like looking back at this and be like, remember how stupid we were?
I'll look back at how stupid I am most of the
When
seasons.
I say non-zero, I mean like a little bit more than 0, like 1%. But
an Oppenheimer
non-zero,
quote. Is that what that's from?
Huh?
Non-zero. Where's
A
that
non-zero chance.
It just means nothing. It just means more than 0.
I never heard it put that way.
Did you
I'm
pull
new to
that
this
from anywhere?
radio speaking
in particular?
No, it's just a word that you're
Non-zero.
supposed to know
Just
what it means.
in
Like
his vernacular.
I don't know what it
words
means.
mean things, so whenever I say them, you're supposed to know what they mean.
Obviously, you never listen to me because my words mean nothing. Because I'm always
Well,
wrong on
big
it.
picture, I don't mean anything. I just mean, but the words I
Yeah.
do say, they do have a little bit of meaning.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's like, who knows what to expect the rest of this year? Like,
I can't wait to watch it unfold.
I don't even know
mean,
what to expect tomorrow, bro.
Yeah.
I had no
All I
clue.
know is Connor
No clue.
Vanover is going to be going toe-to-toe with the Hogs tomorrow, and I can't wait to watch that, too.
What's his stat line tomorrow? Vanover.
what's his career high?
I mean, it's got it. That's pushing.
I think he
20s.
hit it against Mississippi Valley State.
I say he gets like 13 points on like 4 threes, and then he gets a free throw. because he got an and one on it.
Yeah, a little 4-point play action.
Yeah, 4-point play action.
Speaking of the 4-point play,
What?
Coming to our shorts feed tomorrow, John Nabors. I think Connor ran over 4-point play.
me and Curtis just published our the 4-point play that me and him did, kind of going over our keys and what we're looking for in
See, it's not too late.
Arkansas
Go
at
edit
Missouri.
it and put Connor Vanover 4-point play in there.
I don't even know if we mentioned Vanover's name.
I was told by a very good source, as in the head coach Dennis Gates of Missouri, that it's like having a 7'5" point guard. So I think that's pretty much how
mercy.
we expect him to play tomorrow night.
Too bad Trevin's not going to play, so we couldn't have the oversized point guards go at it. Trevin versus Vanover.
Against their former schools.
Yeah,
That's how you draw in ratings.
that is what James Naismith died for. Was that? It was for
Is
Trevin
Brazil
versus.
even going
somebody
to play?
said Bafe.
let's ask that. Is Brazil even going to play tomorrow?
No, I don't think
Zero
he is.
chance. I feel
I mean,
like
I
Well, they
don't
said he
think so.
wasn't close Saturday, right?
And Eric on his radio show Monday night said TB did not practice Monday. So he wasn't close to playing Saturday, not going to wake up on Sunday, feel like, yeah, I think
No, I'm
I'm
ready.
right. Didn't do anything Monday, today, travel day. I don't see it.
Yeah. Which I'm kind of like, as we talked about yesterday, I'm kind of happy. I'm okay with that because you don't need to give them any extra energy. How did Missouri get worse, though? Because listen, I'm not saying Arkansas is good. Trust me, I'm not. This is honestly me, for once, not talking trash about Missouri. But they're not good at all.
No,
and I was
yeah.
expecting them, because where were they picked? I know that they were picked like 9th, something like that. And I remember all those Missouri fans were just, watch us.
Yeah,
Watch
'cause
us.
was it South Carolina that was picked last?
Dead last.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at them now.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
And look,
because
you know,
Lamont Paris was,
Yeah.
he was on his high horse at Media Day, and he
Yeah. Him and Brett
Proving
Bielema had
himself
something
right.
in common at media days when they came. Both of them said, pick us last and watch what happens.
Missouri
Only difference
was
was that
picked to
Bielema actually finished last.
Missouri was picked to finish 9th.
yeah, 9th.
Okay,
I mean,
nice.
that's
So, but I remember Missouri fans were upset.
14, 13, 12.
And they've yet to win an SEC game.
Five
so.
teams beneath them.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's crazy.
Arkansas, right? Arkansas was picked to finish 3rd. They're sitting 12th right now.
But if we are going to want to make fun of Missouri, which I do want to make fun of Missouri, it is kind of funny that this is like the most chaotic, most horrible Arkansas season of all time. Like, you know, families are going to be broken up over this, divorces will happen, and like it's still going to end up being a better season than Missouri's season. Well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. That's what it comes down
about
to.
say that after the game.
It'd be a real shame if they were to beat
I was
us.
trying to come up with a headline for the 4-point play, and I came up with, please, dear
Yeah.
God, just beat
Please,
Missouri.
for real. Like Muss, I know we've been talking, you know, we've been speculating on your job, and that's kind of messed up, but do us one more solid. Beat Missouri. Like, come on.
I mean, if you look at it, you look at the remaining road games they have, this is their absolute 100% best chance to win a road game. Because the rest of them are like LSU, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Alabama, Kentucky.
I see nothing
Precious
but
SEC
W's in
wins,
those.
man.
You better get one tonight or tomorrow night if
Is-
you're going to get one.
Isn't it in Missouri like the team that I think they've only been to like 3 Elite Eights in their history? And like one was in the 50s, and then one was
Mike Anderson.
And then Norm Stewart and Mike Anderson. One of them got vacated by the NCAA under Norm Stewart, and the other one was Mike Anderson. So
Hey,
yeah.
I have a great comment.
Yeah, let's get to
highlight,
some of these
John.
comments, folks. Yeah,
Nobody
we gotta
has
get-
brought this up. People famously have not talked about Gus Argenal this season.
Wow.
Life on Earth. Have you just been not listening to the programs? That you're telling on yourself, because we talk about Gus Argenal about
Dude,
every program,
we've
every
mentioned
show.
Gus Argenal so much, so much. We've missed Gus Argenal, or talked about it, and how much
People
we
have
talked
not
about him
talked
being
about
missed.
the World Trade Center fell on September 11th, 2001. People
Let's not start
often forget.
Let's not start a political war here. Let's not get to that point.
People forget, John. They
yeah.
forget.
Gus's name is brought up like every time we do a live stream.
Yeah,
I'm sick of talking about Gus. If you're listening, Gus, we're done. We're cutting you off.
yeah. Ice Cold Mint Julep says new pro Hogs to be doing well. That should help him with recruiting if he stays.
It should,
it should.
but it also will also help him in recruiting wherever he goes. Like, you think if he's the head coach at USC next year, he's not going to cite Moses Moody?
Did you see that clip of Anthony Black blocking a Bradley Beal shot so hard the
did.
other night?
Anthony
Bradley
Black-
Beal took his mask off.
By the way, I'm Ice Cold Mint Julep. We're just going to take this as a chance to prop up the Pro Hogs. Ricky Council had a cool dunk last
He
night.
had 2 cool dunks last night.
I want to, John. You want to know
sorry.
this? You ready for the most obscure Nick Smith Jr. stat of all time?
I have never been more ready
so
for
ready
anything
for
in
this.
my life.
Everybody listen close. He has 10 games this year where he has made at least 2 threes and shot 50% or better from 3. That is tied for first among NBA rookies with Jordan Hawkins. 10
right.
games, 2
Wow.
threes, 50% from 3. Nobody has done that as a rookie more than Nick Smith Jr. this year.
Jordan Hawkins also being the other guy to do that is just like UConn not letting you forget about it from last year.
Also, shout out to Anthony Black and Nick Smith Jr. for having flawless jumpers as soon as they leave Arkansas.
Isn't that amazing how
Anthony
that works?
Black is shooting 38.1% from three.
I feel like even Jordan Walsh's shot's much better.
Yeah, he had
he's the
summer
best
league
rebounder
game.
in the history of basketball.
Yeah,
so these guys are just
per capita.
The numbers.
burning it, tearing it up.
Per capita.
The numbers speak for themselves.
I mean, the first time I watched AB in like a preseason game, the thing you notice is it's the ball, like his wrist does more. It does this like before he shoots, and then he does this after. When he got here, it was just, it almost felt like he was just,
Pushing
just
it a little
willing
bit.
it to the rim instead of just shooting.
I think he went 4 for 4 last night from 3. I think he had 20 points.
He's a
in
good
Dallas.
piece on a good Magic
He
team.
was back. He was back near his hometown and started cooking. I love it.
Vids for me says Louisville is the only legitimate possibility I see at this moment. Has USC even cared about basketball?
Not only do they
Since
care
O.J.
about
Mayo.
basketball, USC is extremely. I feel like they're about to fire their coach. I would imagine. So we're about to find out how
It's
much they
infield,
care.
isn't it? And he's still there.
Yeah, and I think he hates them and they hate him. I think it's
Great situation to walk into.
Yeah,
Hey,
so I
he must get to be part of the Big Ten. It's to play against Michigan and Ohio State.
We were actually talking about USC basketball. We pulled up the box score from whenever Arkansas played against Swaggy P and Taj Gibson in the NCAA tournament back in the day. They lost 77-60. Steph Welsh is a friend of the program, 0 for 5 in that game. We got to have a better outing from Steph Welsh.
Yeah, got to do better than that.
You got to when Nick Young is on the other side, you got to step up.
David Chamber just said, "Hey John, I wanted to say that I love what you do, man. I watch you every day in my work truck. LOL, you're the real deal, dude. Go Hogs!" Because I just wanted to
He
prop
skipped through
myself
all the
up.
hate comments to find that
exactly.
one.
I had to sift through all of those. Had to find that one. See, people do like me, folks. There are people that exist that do like me. Blake says Missouri's having a whiteout game tomorrow. Why? I didn't know that. Are they?
I didn't know that. I mean, I'll take his word for it.
Well, let me tell you something about these whiteout games, folks. Not always is it about the opponent you're playing, but it's about marketing. In a lot of cases, like a place like Missouri, they can't get people into this arena anyways. So they do it during the midweek games to be like, hey, let's make it extra special. You know, like sometimes you'll do a whiteout because it looks cool for the pictures, but other cases you're doing it just because you're trying to get people into the door. That's what's really about.
Hey, Silent Age 8, if you want to hear about the Arkansas women's teams who are playing well, go listen to the latest episode of the Natty State Six Pack. Curtis and I actually did discuss all of said teams you just mentioned. Actually, we didn't talk about volleyball, but we did talk about gymnastics and women's basketball.
Gymnastics,
I actually just got a email about Arkansas's softball team. I think. Let me see.
Well, and
if I can
track also
find
is
it.
now women's track. I believe is #1 in the country, which isn't a stunning thing, but I think they just boomed up there.
Arkansas softball, number 16 in the USA Today /NFCA
Too low.
coaches
That seems
poll.
a little
Too
low.
low.
Yeah.
Too low.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see
Screw
what
it all.
Deifel's got cooking.
I saw Courtney Deifel at the basketball game the other day.
She was locked in.
Locked in. Yep.
I saw her at I went to like a very small theater performance. There was like maybe 27 people in the crowd, but my girlfriend's friend was in it, and so we went and watched it, and Courtney Deifel was there. Like me, her, and like 25 other people were at
What
this.
was the play?
It was like an original play. Like it was like one of the local like theater companies did it. It was called The Golden Record was the name of it. But anyways,
All right.
besides the point, gymnastics, they're playing Livy Dunn this weekend. I say they're playing. They have a match against Livy Dunn this weekend.
Yeah,
in Baton
not
Rouge.
LSU. Livy Dunn.
Yes, at LSU.
No. Just that's the only thing that everyone ever
Yeah,
cares
just
about. It's like no one
them
cares about
versus
LSU.
Livy
It's
Dunn.
Livy Dunn. It's Livy Dunn.
And Kim Mulkey, who we can get into later.
Yeah,
If
that is-
Arkansas
gonna bring that up.
beats LSU in gymnastics, are they the drip king?
Yeah, sure.
That's how that works, right?
I believe that is written
I
somewhere.
wonder if Baby Gronk will be there to support his girl.
I tell you, I got a
Arkansas
DM from that guy.
gymnastics rizzes up.
Chad
I got a
Wilson.
DM from that guy
Chad
from Baby
Wilson, I got to
Gronks.
be honest with you.
Bring
I
him
don't
on.
think so. Right? The answer to this
We
question?
got to read the question, Andrew, for those
I mean,
listening and not watching.
He
If
says
Muss does leave, do you see anyone on the staff as a permanent option? If not, they would all need to be gone. No.
Yeah, no, I mean, Keith Smart is the only guy you can make a case for. And, we talked about him off air earlier. I do not think he is looking to be the head coach of the Arkansas. I think he's, he's had some health thing. I think he's probably not a serious candidate if the job came open. And that's not a knock on him. I just don't think.
I mean, you have to think about it, right? Like, who's been with Eric everywhere he's been? I guess say everywhere he's been. It's just Nevada and Arkansas. He's been a head coach
All over the world.
in college, but Ruda's been there. Michael's been there. So you can probably rule those guys out because they're going probably wherever he is.
Well, and also, neither, and I love Brewer, but like Brewer right now is not a head coach in the SEC candidate, I wouldn't say.
What about our boy Riley?
Riley Hall?
Yeah.
Riley Hall.
Riley Hall, head coach. I could dig it.
Yeah.
Let's get. Well, his PR team
long as he-
would
yeah,
have
I'd
to,
say as
would
long
have
as
to
he
put out a
doesn't ass-
statement after his assault.
As long as he doesn't
last year.
physically assault any of those big J journalists out there with their cell phone by taking it and ripping it in half and throwing it on the ground. That's violence against the media.
I think if there's odds on next Arkansas head coach, I might sprinkle a little Riley Hall at like 250 to 1.
I mean, that deal last year at the SEC tournament was just we want to be mad about something for 24 hours
we,
thing
we
I've
do
ever
stand.
seen.
We unironically do stand with Riley Hall in this
100%.
context, like 100%.
And my favorite thing about that is that it encompasses exactly what social media is, because one day later, everyone forgot about it and didn't care. Like most people don't even know about Riley Hall.
Since we're ignoring hate and we're only propping up the good comments, we got to point out that
Andrew should be the coach.
the
Coach of
streets are
what?
talking.
Coach of what?
The coach.
Just the coach.
They just call me
Just Coach Andrew. Coach Ellis.
Natty
Just
State
coach.
sports lasts about 2.5 months, and then we just go coach college basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably make more money that
Well,
way.
like that's the thing about
I mean,
this company
we're
is
good
the
at
limit.
scouting
The
players.
limits there are none. We can do whatever we want. I could be content creator / head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Like these are things that are on the table.
Yeah, because Cubby's over here saying you give Beard a blank check. I mean,
Sure.
I know it's easy to say, but it's true. It's like somebody like Chris Beard, you would be 100% going for it.
Chad, they're great. I think we gotta gauge his interest for sure. I mean, I think
if
Riley
would
could talk him
Beard-
into it for sure.
Would Beard come to be Riley Hall's assistant?
Beard really likes the restaurants in Little Rock, so I think if we let him know that Flyway is moving to Fayetteville, we might can entice him a little bit.
See,
Yeah.
this is something that's random, but Hayden wants to know, can we all quickly state our pro team allegiances so I can pick a favorite Natty State sports member? So,
By the way,
I don't know if you know Andrews.
Well,
kinda
funny story
tough.
about this. I tried to wear that shirt, which Curtis also wore today. I thought when
my
I
Natty
grabbed
State,
this,
my red Natty State?
when I was getting dressed this morning, I grabbed this shirt thinking it was that shirt.
Well, that's what you
Put it
did.
on, and then I put a hoodie on over it. And then when I took it off, I was like, oh,
I
repping the
applied it.
Texans today.
But Andrew,
I'm all Houston sports teams for pro.
Rockets, big Rockets guy.
I like the Rockets, who are a little bit of they did beat the Lakers last night, but they're in a little bit of a transition. But the Rockets are fun. The Astros. I went and saw Game 6 of the World Series or the ALCS this year on a whim. That was fun, even though they lost. But
Yeah.
I used to be a baseball fan. I like the Cardinals. NFL team, just whoever I'm siding with on Saracens, probably
Who's ever winning me
the
money.
team I'm pulling for. And then,
I cheer for pro players a lot more than I do
Yeah.
individuals. Teams for honestly, like the Rockets, I love, but like if they played LeBron in the finals, I'd be like, LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron was the first athlete I ever liked, so it's like I want him to win over.
pro basketball, I'm a Phoenix Suns guy going back to the Steve Nash 7 seconds or less days. Steve Nash was my guy growing up. He's one of the reasons I started liking basketball.
Shout out to
And then
Canada.
like
We
if
know we got people there.
there's a college team that I like to pull for, it's Villanova. Weird as that is, it's Villanova. I just love that program.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that my pro teams, football-wise, is the New York Jets.
The goddamn Jets.
Here's the thing. You can never accuse me of being a bandwagon fan, by being a Jets fan. But again, everyone make your jokes. But just remember, less than 15 years ago, this team went to back-to-back AFC title games. It's better than what most of your teams have done. So, anyway,
Mark Sanchez,
Jets
shout
fan. I am a casual Celtics fan. And the reason being is because Joe Johnson was like my favorite college basketball player growing up. And when he got drafted by the Celtics, I loved him. Also color green. And then my baseball, I don't have a baseball team, so I'm not going to even try to pretend that I do. But we'll say I was a huge Manny Ramirez fan. Ooh. I loved him at the Red Sox and the Dodgers. So as much as that may sound stupid, I like to see the Red Sox and the Dodgers be good.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I think my favorite baseball player growing up was one day it would be Sammy Sosa. The next day it would be Derek Jeter. And I liked Sammy Sosa for the home run trot, the hop after he smashed one.
Yeah.
And then Derek Jeter because I would see him, he would turn double plays like a 4.63. take that people that say I don't know baseball.
Yeah.
4.63, and he catches the ball and he jumps in the air off second base and fires to first. That was electric.
Because wasn't it
10 years
with Manny
old.
Ramirez? He had when he'd hit, he'd almost like just like the hands
Drop
would
the
just
bat immediately.
Just drop immediately. I was like, I always thought that was cool. Manny
My
being
favorite
Manny.
Manny play was whenever he like caught the ball and then like ran up the wall, high-fived the fan, and then still got the dude out. Was it second or third or whatever it was, doubled the guy off. Manny was awesome. Those Red Sox teams, like
Those were nasty.
they were just fun. Like Boston sports. Honestly, I've just always kind of I'm not a Boston sports fan, but I've always kind of admired the Boston teams for whatever reason.
They do things like they just in every sport. They've
My
won.
dad, like, he's not a Patriots fan, but he just respected Tom Brady so much that he just like kind of
That's football
like I remember
guy
he
right there.
Yeah, like he just got. I remember one time he got like a Patriots starter jacket. He's like, that Tom Brady man.
Well, I'll say this: like, as a Jets fan, I hated Tom Brady. Obviously.
I can imagine.
But I grew to respect him and to where I actually like him. It's kind of the same
Yeah.
thing with Kobe Bryant. I
think
hated
everybody
Kobe Bryant.
kind of went through that process.
Hated Kobe Bryant. But like overall, I'm just like, man, I can't even hate you. Like you're just so good. It's like I couldn't even do it. But
Oh, yeah.
it's the same thing. Let's see. Joshua says you can only have one: Petrino at OC or Muss. I'm choosing Bobby. No,
Dude,
Muss,
Muss a billion
100%.
times out of a billion.
Not
What
even
are you
question.
talking about,
My man,
Josh?
Josh, I get it. I'm a huge Petrino guy.
Yo, what?
Big Bobby P guy.
The OC over the basketball head coach.
No. Give
What?
me Muss every day, twice on Sundays.
Dude, they
Even if
could-
it was Bobby as the head coach, I'm still taking Muss.
you could give me Joe Craddock at OC as long as Muss is staying, man. I'd take Joe Craddock a head coach before Muss leaves. But obviously Muss is probably gone, so we could probably prepare for it. So I'll change my answer in June whenever Muss is out, and I'll be like, oh, Petrino for sure. But yeah, Josh,
Totally.
what are we talking about, man?
Yeah, I don't know what.
Unless you're just making the caveat of like you just care about football and don't care about basketball, which like I can
I-
get. You know,
yeah,
if that's your
I can
point of view,
respect it.
cool. But like,
I can respect it.
And I'm sure like there's Arkansas fans that like as long as football's good, they're
Yeah.
cool. But like basketball and
Yeah.
baseball don't have to be good. As long as football is, they're fine.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and like you're more than entitled to feel that. I mean, we're not here to tell you like which teams you should care about more. Like do whatever you got to do. But here in my house, we will cheer on whoever. We don't discriminate.
Thought you were about
Man.
to get like biblical on me.
No.
So you're like that's of course.
As for me and my house,
we will
yes.
serve the Lord. Yeah, so I
We
thought that was
will-
going to
we
we will
will-
serve
we
the
will
baseball
call the
gods.
Hogs
Yeah,
in
we were going to call the
Omaha,
Hogs and
in
all
Omaha,
that.
and Phoenix, and in Dallas.
Yeah. Also, clearly, people don't understand. This comes from RA. People don't understand. Muss is from San Diego. He is passionate about the West Coast.
correct.
Very
So,
passionate about the West Coast.
He's very
yeah.
passionate about the West Coast. And also, Lion says, is Muss main reason for leaving because the season was so bad, or is it because he wants to go to the West Coast?
No,
Well, you're
I
not
don't-
leaving officially, folks. So let's just
Yeah,
make sure
I
that
don't-
we're clear on that. This
And
is
I
just
don't-
from the speculation that's going around.
As much as I say Muss is always thinking about the next thing, I don't think that's the case in the moments. I think he lives and dies with every moment. At any time he's able to think towards the future, he is. But I think he's not the kind of guy who would just mail in a whole season.
No.
Now you could make an argument down the stretch if he really is the talks heat up and maybe he mails in a little bit. That happens, and that's just human nature. Muss would not just punt on a whole season of his career, a season of his prime while he's still kicking. Nah, I don't think that's. I don't buy that, but a real basketball guy like Scotty could correct me if he disagrees. No.
Do not disagree.
And also, Alex says, so 3 weeks ago he's not leaving. Now he's leaving GTFO.
Okay.
Well, that's how the world works a little bit, like, well, last
Things-
year he was here. Now, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, and look, we're not saying he's leaving, but I don't know.
Things change, right?
Yeah, things do change.
See,
Like
that's-
3
and
weeks
that's- and
ago,
that's
the
my
world was
whole
very
thing,
different.
folks.
3
Like,
weeks
we're
ago,
getting-
Devo was on the team. TB
3
was,
weeks ago, like I said, and like I just said earlier, Arkansas could win 9 of 10, and then in that case, we'll be like, oh, well, 3 weeks ago he was supposed to leave. Like, yeah, things are always subject to change.
Well, see, and that's my whole thing in this is like we're, again, reiterating the point. We're not saying he's leaving, but there has been speculation. There has been rumor. There's been a lot of talk about it. So that's why we're talking about it. But if he decides to leave, then it's going to be a discussion point. But I just don't understand how, knowing college sports, especially and how they are, and the ever-changing of college sports. Guys, in the past 4 years, college sports as I know it, and as we all know it, has been put up on its head.
Yeah.
With NIL and transfer portal things alone. Like, if you would have told me 4 years ago, and conference realignment, by goodness, like 4 years ago, if I said, looking at today, where it's at then, it would blow people's pants off. They'd be like, no way. But that's what's happened. It's the same thing when it comes to all of these things that go on with coaches, especially. things change. It's as simple as that. Things change.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I would recommend just like, again, we're not saying definitively he's leaving. We're not saying definitively he's staying. I know that's like not what people want to hear. I don't think anybody should be living and dying as like, oh, it's guaranteed to happen one way or the other. Like, everything is subject to change, like you said. We'll just see how it is.
Gooch says, how good would Muss be in the portal if he didn't have to worry about preparing for the NCAA tournament games?
Hey, Arkansas gets bounced early in baseball, and all of a sudden they get a tremendous portal class.
I'm just saying, listen, LSU thing, there might be, because they didn't make the tournament, and they got a pretty good class the year before that and won it. So, is there truth?
We're taking the bait here.
Do you want to? You want to either win the championship or not go at all, so that way you can prepare to get to the championship the next year.
You've been put on this pedestal to be Arkansas's next basketball coach, and you need to run for office.
Yeah, what is
apparently.
this? Who are these people that keep coming? Like, is this your family?
Nah, believe it or not. So like my buddies every now and then will comment something funny, but like I haven't seen one of those in real life. These are real human beings. Their vote counts the same as yours and mine.
I don't think it's really a compliment for someone to say you need to run for office these days.
Yeah, no, yeah. That
think
means
that's
I
a
have
good thing to be
scumbag
a
energy,
like-
and he's like, that guy could work well.
Hey, being a coach, okay, but yeah, you should run for office. Be like,
This guy could thrive in the dirtiest, grimiest business of all
this guy
time.
could
where all
lie a
the
lot.
scumbags-
Yeah, he could screw over innocent people and
All
steal
the
their
people that
money
we
and
all
be
hate.
fine. Yeah,
This
he
guy could
seems
fit
like
right
the
in.
type that could do that.
Hey, I appreciate you, Travis.
I don't know why it reminded me of that Shane Gillis bit. He said, "It's a very big room." I walked into this room and said, "Wow, it's a big room."
Yep, I could see Andrew.
Branson with a great comment here, by the
doing that
way.
too.
They've been ticketing us
politician-like.
like it's hot lately, man.
Did you guys get ticketed again?
I don't know. I didn't get ticketed yet today, or at least not whenever I
How
went
many
down
times
for
have you been
lunch.
ticketed? Once?
I have a ticket right here, John.
Was that the only one you've gotten?
I've got two in my
No,
backpack.
I've got two.
I got two.
lost one, so I don't know if there's
Oh,
a way to
that's
track
not
that
good.
down. What happens if you lose them?
Yeah, you probably just go to jail forever.
I bet you could probably put your plate number in.
I hope
and
you look
it'll
good in
find-
orange. Hope you look good in
All
orange there,
outstanding
Andrew.
tips.
Dude, that was so funny.
From
That
Jeff
tweet
Goodman,
I
hope you look
sent,
good in orange.
And it was like, whose recruiting strategy was
Is
it?
it Jim Boeheim?
Jim Boeheim's recruiting strategy. How do you look in orange?
Yeah. Golly. Anyways, yeah. That's,
But okay, hey,
the
let's
tickets.
talk about though. What you mentioned earlier, the perception of Muss and like kind of what it is. How would it be if he left? For me, it's not going to change a whole lot, just because for all the reasons I said earlier, it kind of makes sense. He had a good run at Arkansas, and I feel like he's looking for something new. I wouldn't hold it against him forever, but I know a lot of people would. So, what do y'all think? Y'all think it's going to be just an absolute disaster?
there would be some people that are just beside themselves because they can't think past like this year or the tough moments even last year. But I think the guy, if he leaves, deserves a hell of a lot of credit for. Mike Anderson did a good job getting Arkansas to where it was, but it clearly needed to be in different hands to take the next step to gain consistent national relevance. And Eric did that. I mean, he had a chance to put Arkansas on the map like mid-year one, and they just swung and missed. But people knew, because of the talent or what he could do with the talent he had, and then he can go get talent too. Sometimes you miss on guys. It's the nature of the game. But he got Arkansas to a place that I don't know that I could say I imagined it would be. Like I'd be lying if I said I thought I would ever cover an Elite Eight game in person.
Or two.
Yeah.
Two Elite Eight games.
Yeah, 2 Elite Eight games. Like I don't know that I thought he'd do that, but he did it in short order.
Did you think you'd cover Greensboro beating Arkansas in Bud Walton Arena?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that seemed like it was pretty.
I mean, the thing is, like, no matter where you get your program to, those kinds of games are going to happen.
I watched Arkansas get App Stated back in when it was all.
I was at
Arena.
that game too. Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting right in front of. I was at the game it was just me and my dad. And there was a guy right behind me. He was just on Gary Irvin, just off something bad, and he said, "Hey," it's really quiet because App State's icing the game at the free throw line. He said, "Hey, Gary Irvin, look at the free throw line. That's what a real point guard looks like." Everybody in the building heard it.
Fried him.
Yeah, I mean you have those games. It just so happened that the one this year, was
Gary
a giant
Irvin just
red
wanted
flag.
to tune into the broadcast, and he's like, "Why am I catching strays?
Yeah.
What's going on?"
And to go back to your question, Andrew, I think it also depends on how he leaves. If he leaves, of how Razorback fans will feel. If there ends up being a situation coming out and like a story comes out of all that, of like craziness and involvement and like something maybe that was like out of his reach or at least out of his control, or maybe there could be something to where it happens, or maybe if he's very gracious about it in the way he leaves. But if it's something to where he's in a bad mood and kind of just saying, I ain't talking about it, and then just does the old Irish goodbye, leaves in the middle of the night, doesn't say anything, and he's at Louisville or wherever, then that's going to cause a lot of animosity. Because listen, it's a very new thing, as we talked about. Coaches don't leave Arkansas. I know it's stupid to think, but they don't leave Arkansas. They just don't. And when they have success, they stay, or they get on a motorcycle and get in a wreck. Like, that's just how it is. And so it would be a foreign thing for people. Yeah. And like, imagine, Dave Van Horn, like, I know he's different because he has connections, but I'm just saying, like, imagine if Dave Van Horn had left, though, 10, 15 years ago, it'd be like, oh, okay, well, this has happened to us before. It sucks, whatever. But it hasn't. Like, same thing with Richard. Nolan Richardson didn't even move after he got fired. He stayed in Fayetteville. So, again, it's about how it goes, how it's handled. And also, I think you guys can agree this, who replaces him. Because if they end up getting, like, if Muss leaves and they get Chris Beard, people are going to be like, okay, well, Muss, hey, listen, we appreciate it. We're all in on Beard now. But if you go and get another John Pelfrey, then people are going to be like, oh, God, yeah, you suck, man. You left us hanging out to dry.
I just hope if Eric leaves, he shoots a text or a call and just let me know the last 4 or 5 years were real.
Yeah.
I still hope I get an invite to his Halloween party in
Louisville.
Louisville.
Me and Curtis talked about that last night. Just shoot a text.
We'll make the trek to Louisville and go cover that. But yeah, I agree. I mean, think about Mike Anderson. Like, the reason it's now that the situation, we've been removed from it for a while, I feel like most Hog fans view him pretty positively, right? Because I think when you look back on it, you're like, all right, he did what he did for the program, natural stepping off point, and then Muss kind of took it up a notch, like we mentioned earlier. So I think if, Chris Beard does the exact same thing, might not be right away, might take 3 or 4 years and maybe a Final Four or 2, but I think fans would kind of look back and be like, you know what, appreciate what Muss did. That was a fun time, and it kind of launched us into this new era. But it's gonna be interesting to see just what the I've seen like 12 people in the comments say if they get Beard, like, they'll be fine. So it's like I think it will be. It won't take long for Arkansas fans to talk themselves into it. Yeah. They might just lie at first and be like, oh, we didn't even like Muss anyway.
Yeah. It could end up being that way. But I tell you what, I know Scotty's got to go over there and record his pod at the Palace. So we're going to leave him.
Yeah, Curtis got some things to say. So if y'all want to tune in tomorrow morning, Curtis morning.
Is locked in over there.
Yeah, Curtis told us to F off, and that's why he's not on the show today. So, but that's okay. We'll let him stay busy. But yeah, you got to be listening for that. But folks, I want to remind everybody that here on the John Nabors Show, we're brought to you by Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville. It's conveniently located right there on North College Avenue at 3417. And also, they have a website that you can go to. It's actually our website, nattystatesports.com/alumni hall. When you go to that website, you can get all of the apparel options that you can possibly choose from, especially when it comes to baseball season coming up. They have the hats. You know what hats I'm talking about. The hats that you go to all these stores and you can never find. The hats you go online for and you can never find. Those legitimate Razorback baseball hats, they have them right now at Alumni Hall, so you better get on it because they're not going to be around for very long. So go to nattystatesports.com/alumni hall and check out all the great apparel. And when you go in there in store 2 here in Fayetteville, you're going to have everything that you could possibly imagine when it comes to all things Razorbacks. Odds are if they don't have it, it doesn't exist. So check them out today. They have the nicest apparel that you'll ever find. Columbia, Nike, as well as Southern Tide, Peter Millar, they have it all. So check them out today, of all shapes and sizes, for men, women, children, and even pets. Check out Alumni Hall today or visit the website at nattystatesports.com/alumni hall. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to more of your comments and more of the John Nabors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. So stay with us.
We not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we not done. We not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we not done. We not done yet.
1,943 miles away, but the call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
Let's stick my dick in the mashed potatoes. Go Hogs.
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
Andrew Ellis over there as well. So what's up, Andrew?
Just me again.
Yeah, just you. It's okay.
You know, it is what it is. It means that the next 53 minutes are going to be bizarre and weird, and we're going to rely on you guys. So hit us with the weird comments. I see we've got a Louisville fan in the chat.
Do we really?
Oh,
what
yeah.
does the Louisville fan have to say?
Please, let's see. I'll pull it up here. He says, please let Muss come to Louisville. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's the likelihood that Louisville lands the Muss bus? I mean,
I hope that you have a horrible day, Mr. T. Will, coming into the chat saying that you wish that it was happening.
I'll say a 2.5. I don't think Louisville would be on the top of my list just because I think a lot of these moves we've talked about are similar, like kind of lateral moves,
right?
You know, and you could even make, if he went to USC, that'd be a little bit of a step down. But I think the West Coast is the bigger appeal. You know, we keep talking about the main thing that drives him. I think him being on the West Coast is probably the most likely outcome. But I don't know. I mean, Louisville's obviously a great program. Like I could see him getting talked in. I mean, money talks. Who knows? And we'll see how bizarre and disastrous this situation gets at Arkansas. But I'm not qualified, T. Will, to clarify on like who would win the bidding war for Muss if it came down to it. But I think there's a good chance that someone not named Arkansas coach has the services of Musselman next year.
Yeah, I would.
Louisville's just not the top of my list.
I'd say I would be disappointed. I mean, I'd be disappointed no matter what, but I'd be really disappointed if he went to Louisville. I'm like, really, Louisville? Like, at least make it make sense because I get you're a West Coast guy, you know, USC, UCLA, something like that.
It would be a lot tougher to swallow if it were Louisville for sure. And I mean, you know, it's going to be we love to use this term, bad taste in our mouths. It's going to leave a bad taste in Hog fans' mouths regardless if he leaves, but it would feel a lot worse. I agree if he ended up at Louisville just because. For all the reasons we've said. So we'll see. Pigpen says, stay salty, Andrew. I don't know what this is a reference to.
What are you salty about?
I don't know. I'm salty a lot.
Salty all the time.
I mean, I'm salty a lot, but it's usually it's always over small stuff. But I don't know. I feel like maybe I've been a little salty lately. Who knows?
And I've been salty, but for all
you were
reasons.
very cranky that one day.
I was tired. Yeah, much sleep.
You got some sleep, and you've been a new man ever since then. I'm glad.
Obviously.
You're not you when you haven't gotten your sleep. Like the Snickers, you know. You like that?
I do. We'll say, I think I'm on the other end of this sinus, sickness, congestion stuff. Almost
you think
there.
you're about to beat it?
Hopefully. Still coughing, though.
Yeah. Well, we support you. We're here. We're here for you. We'll make it. Well, you know, if not, y'all might be looking at if this illness worsens, John, y'all might be looking at the John Nabors Show hosted by Andrew Ellis here by the end of the week.
Yeah, why don't you do some comments real quick while I go take care of business over there, Andrew?
Do what you got to do. Let's see. Samuel Brooks, our guy, he wants to say, are we still doing a watch party show tomorrow during the Missouri game? You bet your bottom dollar we are, Samuel. It's going to be a good time, so we'll see. Hopefully the team takes care of their end of the bargain because last time the vibes got a little downtrodden. But, you know, we'll see. John Nabors flu game. That is what is happening right now, folks. That's why you're having to look at a close-up of my face. John is battling the conditions, but he's a trooper, and we trust that he'll make it through. Let's see. Only positive about Louisville is their arena. Woo Pig 00. I have not been to the arena, but, yeah, it does seem like a very nice one. I had a buddy who went to dental school there. He loved it. I don't know if is an arena. I mean, if arenas are what we're talking about, I don't think that's going to be why Arkansas loses.
Is that the Papa John's arena or is that their stadium that's Papa John's?
I think their stadium is Papa John's, but I don't know. I mean, he goes to but dude, Papa John used to go to Kentucky games. You remember that? He there was a weird issue where he was like beefing with the Louisville staff, but I don't know. But I don't know if their arenas. I think it's their football, but
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's one thing that is not going to make Muss leave Arkansas, it's not going to be the
It's
arena.
not going to be an arena.
Yeah, I think
it's not going to be
good.
an arena. By the way, I want to bring back John Nabors' flu game. Come on, Woo Pig. You're going to spell my name like that? It's in the
Like
title
he's
of
Mike
the thing
Nabors'
that you're
son.
watching, my man. It's at the logos there. My man. Come on.
Also, that one's harder to spell. Like your neighbors is easy.
No, well, I mean, if you went to school, you probably know that how neighbors are supposed
No, but
to
I
be
meant like
spelled.
just when you're typing it, it's like that
Yeah.
one seems harder to type.
Yeah, it is. Garrett says, can you talk about the issues with assistant coaches' coaching pool that's been talked about?
I mean, coaching pool. I don't know about what you mean about coaching pool necessarily.
And what's the issues with the assistants, like as far as just...
I think they just mean his inability to retain assistants because they pretty much have one leave every other year. David Patrick is one I think of who took an assistant job at Oklahoma. And look, I don't think it's because David Patrick hated Eric Musselman. I think it's just kind of... I think being an assistant coach for Eric Musselman is probably not the most fun existence one can have. But
Andrew, whatever do you mean?
But
why would it not be an enjoyable experience?
This is really the only year in which I think the Muss assistant coach thing is a problem worth even talking about. It's not like this has been a consistent theme. Like, he's had awesome assistants over at Arkansas. I mean, Keith Smart's, I would argue, overqualified for his job. Gus Arginal's obviously gone on to do good things. I mentioned David Patrick. Like, they've had good assistants. So it's not like a consistent issue, but I think failure to replace some of those guys, that might be a little bit of an issue. And that's not a knock on anyone on the staff, but I mean, you just look down the line and, it's a lot of guys who are inexperienced. It's not a star-studded group of guys proven other places. So I don't know. I think if Muss ends up staying, that's going to end up being a big topic of conversation of like, there's going to be changes to the coaching staff. But again, if we're talking like Muss is about to leave, then I don't even think it matters too much.
Nope, I don't think so either. But
unfortunately, though.
Yeah. Lion also says, I hate how Muss can't just be honest to us about Devo. Just let us know if he's on the team or not. Doesn't have to be super complicated. Address it and move on.
I will defend Muss on this one for just a little bit because I don't know what Muss realistically could have done.
Yeah, see, that's my thing.
Like, to our understanding, Devo just did not show up to the game Saturday and kind of just, I don't want to, Jay Billis used the term AWOL. It seemed like there was not like a moment. Now, I don't know if there was a conversation he and Muss had before. So I don't think it's a situation where Muss kicked him off the team and then refused to comment. I think Devo didn't show up to the game Saturday. They put out the statement they put out, which was very vague, and that's kind of just what they had to say. And I think it would have been tough for him to put out something definitive, especially after the game. I mean, just a couple hours after it all kind of went down. I know we'll see. Maybe he has a different comment Wednesday. If they go all season and he never comments or gives us anything definitive, then I'd be like, all right, relax.
Then
but
it becomes weird.
Just day of the game, I didn't expect him to say anything definitive on Devo.
Okay, I wanted to bring this up too, and I know we've been talking a lot about basketball, but this is still really funny to me. Rakeem Boyd. You guys remember Rakeem Boyd, don't you? Former running back, Razorback.
The Dream, Rakeem the Dream.
From Last Chance U.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Independence? I think.
Yeah, Independence
up there with Coach Brown, JB.
Oh, yeah.
All the craziness. Rakeem Boyd has been someone who's been an interesting cat, a guy who could really play the game of football and had some moments, and it felt like he was all about Arkansas, but then he did things that made it sound like, I don't know, he's been odd. Anyways, he put this up on Twitter recently. I don't know why. I guess it was today. But he says, quote, if I was a recruiter for one of these colleges, I'd be the best in the country. Okay, whatever. You say that. Hey, say stuff. But after that is when he says, thank me. Thank me for some of the big fishes I got to Arkansas. Like KJ Jefferson, Felipe Franks, which I don't know, he has a comma between Felipe and Franks.
Franks?
And then Nick Starkle, ...
No notes. This is a flawless back-to-back tweet. I mean, this is brilliant work. I love that, John.
So I guess we can't even say that Chad Morris was as good at recruiting.
No, apparently
Rakeem Boyd.
And I love this, John, that he was like, guys, y'all need to be thanking me for my services. I brought to Arkansas one good quarterback, one pretty serviceable quarterback, and one bad quarterback. Give me a parade.
I'm about to say, I don't know why we don't have this man.
Like, I mean, look, Felipe Franks and KJ Jefferson did great things for this program. I'm not knocking those guys, but it's not like he's like,
I brought Darren McFadden,
I brought Ryan Mallett.
Yeah.
Like, I brought the heavy hitters out.
Yeah. It's like, and also, too, like, and this is nothing against Rakeem Boyd. I have nothing against Rakeem Boyd. But
I actually like Rakeem. I really
do, too. But it's like, you can't sit there and tell me that those three players right there, the only reason they came to Arkansas is Rakeem Boyd. Because of Rakeem. Now, Nick Starkel, because they both
I'll
went to
even
A&M.
give him Felipe, because Felipe, I remember him being the host on the visit, and I remember seeing pictures of them because I remember being excited back then as a fan. I was like, oh, yeah. The starting quarterback and starting running back, they're buddies, because like they were taking pictures on Felipe's visit. I'll even give him those.
Well, even because Starkel and him played, or at least they both were at Texas A&M. So
right, and I get
like
that one. So it's like we'll give you credit for both of those guys. We'll give you 100% credit. That's like a decent recruiting cycle for like a
but I don't know. Again, I'm not saying he didn't have an impact, but you're telling me that we should thank him.
Yeah,
not anybody else, but thank him, because without him, those three players would have never come to Arkansas. Like Rakeem, I just have a hard time believing that.
You did more for Arkansas on the field, I would argue, buddy. Like you had a great year there. You should talk about that. Don't talk about your recruiting acumen.
Yeah. Which, did he ever end up going anywhere after he left Arkansas? I don't think he did.
No, he like maybe was on a training camp with the Lions, like maybe rookie mini camp or something like that. But he was tweeting he wanted a job not too long ago. He was asking, XFL, looking for a gig like that. Apparently now he's looking to get into the coaching ranks.
No, just recruiting.
Yeah, just recruiting. Okay, fair enough. Hey, that's how the greats start.
At recruiting. And
hey, Rakeem, see if Jason Brown, wherever he's at, give him a ring. I'm sure he's looking to get back in the game. Maybe he'll bring you on staff. You can be the running back coach, and he'll kind of teach you the ropes. I don't. Could be a good gig for him.
Yeah, just whatever. I don't understand.
That's the wagon you need to attach yourself to is Jason Brown. I'm sure
wasn't Rakeem Boyd the captain of the 2020 team first?
Yeah, he used to have a C on his jersey, and then
did
not finish the year.
Because that's the whole thing is players that have a C on their jersey always leave Arkansas the next year, whether it was Rakeem Boyd or Joe Fouché or Jalen Catalon or KJ Jefferson.
We got a good comment here.
You also got Andrew to come to Natty State Sports. I hear that's true. You and Rakeem are tight.
Devo also really sold me. Once I heard that Devo might come on board, I was sold.
Yeah. Listen, we're just going to start rumors that every single time somebody's is leaving for a new job or a new place, it's like, oh, Natty State Sports is where it's going to be, because this is the place to be, folks. Like, let's be honest.
We can always count on the radio guys to report it for us too, so that'll be nice.
That's true, or sales guys for that matter. So yeah, they can really do all that. But
yeah, I love that tweet from Rakeem.
I do too.
That's so
it's like
good.
So ridiculous. It's so on brand.
You should have just lied and thrown in a few, been like, I got Traylon Burks, like taking credit for a couple more. That would have been better.
Yeah, that would have been funny. Also, another little piece that we wanted to bring up is about Tennessee. And talking about the Volunteers of Tennessee, that is.
That's very bad.
Yeah. So we know that Tennessee and the football program and all that get hit with some violations and whatever here recently. But the University of Tennessee, according to ESPN, is under NCAA investigation for violations related to name, image, and likeness. So these are whole new can of worms that they've had. The investigation puts the Volunteers in the crosshairs for potential sanctions as repeat violators. Tennessee is fresh off the NCAA ruling in the summer of 2023, to which it was charged with 18 level 1 violations and a record of $8 million, and fined a record of $8 million. And the scope and breadth of the current allegations, according to sources, include the potential for the enforcement staff to charge multiple level 1 and level 2 violations. The case revolves around activity related to the Spire Sports Group, which is Tennessee's primary NIL collective. It's primarily tied to football. And I believe that the Tennessee athletic director, they've bounced back, or at least fought back a little bit, saying that the NCAA rules regarding NIL is intellectually dishonest in how they are written. Maybe.
That's probably true.
Maybe. But also, according to other reports, too, it has to deal with that quarterback that they signed, the number 2 quarterback in the class. Yeah. So, okay, Tennessee. Still trying, man.
We were talking about fan bases earlier where, like, if you're over here spouting and making fun of teams for losing their coach and like, oh, our coach would never lose or whatever, I think that also applies with NIL and cheating and all that and paying players. Like, if you want to make fun of other, and like, look, we can all make fun of Tennessee here, but if you're like a fan over here doing we don't do that kind of stuff, we're above all that, don't be surprised when you read any of these. You could literally sub out Tennessee and put any name and I'd believe it. I'd be like, yeah, it probably makes sense.
You know what I would love? I would love my team to actually have an investigation.
Yeah,
because
that's what you
trying.
Want. Yeah, like when Ole Miss, whenever they had the number 1 class with like Laquan Treadwell and all those guys, and they started getting investigated. Now, look, we all know they cheated, And I don't even remember if they got caught or not. I think they might have a little bit. But it's like being investigated. It's like when people accuse the strong guy of being on steroids, and he's like, cool, I've been, that's congratulating me on being very strong. It's like, it's kind of one of those things.
It's almost like, with, what's his name? Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, he was doping on that. He's like, yeah, but everybody else was too. So our doping guy beat your doping guy.
Barry, we on the Six Pack, we argued Barry Bonds, best baseball player ever, needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, he was on steroids, but so was everyone else, and he hit more home runs than all those guys that were on steroids.
I'd say, and I'd also like to see how give steroids to everybody, and I'd love to see how you could hit 73 home runs.
We've also got we attracted Louisville fans. We've also attracted Memphis fans. Who is M-Town man who has a Memphis Tiger as his logo. Says he was doing a little victory lap in the comments. He said, "We got caught doing some weird stuff too, but that was my point. No one does no wrong. Some just don't get caught."
It's true.
Hey, fair enough. Eddie Guerrero, I lie, I cheat and steal.
Yeah.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Well, that's like the whole thing with, like Alabama football.
Yeah.
Folks, like, does anybody really think that Alabama was not doing anything? Like they were just, they got offered all this money to go elsewhere. And the same thing with like Auburn and Cam Newton. He got offered $180,000 to go to Mississippi State, but then he went to Auburn for free.
Right.
Again, it's just about not getting caught.
Yeah, Zion Williamson, I remember they had it like on record. There was like audio of Bill Self in Kansas offering him, I can't remember the number, but it's like he was offered this by Kansas and he didn't go there. So you think he just went to Duke for free?
Yeah.
And like Duke is a private school, so they can't get those records. It's like, I don't. Anytime there's an offer reported or whatever, like it's so funny how often people will like reach out to me with like rumors about this stuff, and every single one I'm like, sure, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
Is it true that so and so got offered $500,000? I'm like, yeah,
totally,
yeah. Oh yeah. I was told this summer that Hagen Smith was going to get $500,000 to go to LSU.
It was like.
Speaking of Hagen Smith, who has just got a comment being a D1 baseball preseason All-America first team, rightfully so.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
But I remember people were saying stuff about it. It's like all of these. It's like, there's rumors everywhere, but it's like I could almost be talked into any of them, honestly, because everybody's doing this stuff, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not believing anything there too. So, also, there was something else that was actually baseball related, but we've had a lot of comments.
I remember someone asking about. I can't pull it up, but they asked about if Matt Hobbs and Nate Thompson, them sticking around for a while, if that's like if that's a normal thing, and I would argue it's really not.
It's not at all.
It's definitely not. I mean, this is year, I want to say, so Thompson came there in
after
18.
Vitello.
Yeah, so Vitello's last year was 16, I believe.
Yes, and Thompson was 17.
17, and then I think
Hobbs came in 19.
Hobbs came in 19.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and now 24. This is their sixth straight year with the same head coach, OC and DC, basically. That's a big deal. And, both those guys have definitely turned down. I mean, Matt Hobbs was had in MLB teams lurking around, but Nate Thompson, I know, has been thrown out there for a ton of head coaching jobs, and he will absolutely continue to be a candidate for them. And I don't think that they're going to stay at Arkansas forever. I think they're locked in on one very specific goal.
Yeah.
They're all in on it together, and I think when Arkansas wins that Natty, I think you might see Nate Thompson go ahead and take that job at wherever. But I think
once they do this year.
And look, I'm not saying they're going to be here. If they don't win it this year, they're going to keep. But I do think that is probably why they're holding out just a little bit longer. And like, if Arkansas keeps winning, these guys are going to continue to be candidates. I mean,
oh yeah,
both of them deservedly so as well. I mean,
this is my favorite comment right here because I love it. Dave wins a Natty and retires. Tony V to be the odds-are favorite for the job. I'm going to say this, folks. If Dave Van Horn wins a Natty and retires after that, Tony Vitello is your coach the next day. I'll put
if
my
there's a God,
bottom dollar on it that Tony Vitello is going to be the next Razorback baseball coach once Dave Van Horn retires. I'm putting my life savings on that, which isn't much, but it's a lot to me,
$72.50 on it, really?
Yeah, $2.67, man. It's going to get it,
dude. I'll tell you. Regardless of whether you're right or not, I think that should be what everyone hopes, right?
Yes.
Why, and look, if you're one of those people who really is like doesn't want Tony V to be the coach and you have your moral reasons, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But grow up, guys. Come on.
You're
like,
wrong.
let's be real here. The guy's awesome. And look, he might not even be a good person. He might be a complete jerk. I don't know. I've never spent time with Tony Vitello, but DVH loves him. They've had their beef, and everybody thought that was like a proof that they really don't. DVH has already said multiple times since then, like, oh yeah, we made up right after. We're boys. Like
they hang out all the
They have a very close relationship, and all it will take is DVH signing off for the fan base to get on board. Which, by the way, guys, spoiler, we can quit all this pretending. He will sign off as soon as it happens. And look, I'm not even guaranteeing like John is that Tony's going to want the job and that he's going to make the move. But I mean, he would absolutely have a hard time turning it down. I know that for a fact. I think a lot of people do. I mean,
he did call it the mecca of college baseball.
Yeah,
he said Arkansas is the mecca of college baseball.
The Arkansas job is a top 3, top 5 job in college baseball. Anybody would have a hard time turning it down. I mean, Jay Johnson at LSU would probably even be like, looking at it.
Yeah, I can
you know what I mean? Like, I think any coach would be dumb not to, and I think Tony V is going to be on that short list. I think it all comes down to like the timing of it. Like, for instance, if Arkansas, let's say they really do win the national title this year, I think that would speed up DVH's timeline immensely. Like, I really like, and look, I'm not
100%.
like, I'm not saying DVH is like looking for. He's not. He's got plenty of years left in him. As long as he, I mean, he gets around great. Like he seems like
he'll be the coach as long as he wants to be the coach.
He'll be the coach as long as he wants to be the coach. But yeah, like that's a good way to put it, because I think that how long he will want to be the coach will change once he gets that elusive chip out of the way. And and someone, I think the question also was saying, are one of those guys being groomed for the job? I don't know that for sure, honestly. I don't want to say definitively. Nate Thompson is interesting to me because he's such a great recruiter. And I think also, the hitting coaches seem to always be the ones that rise to these positions usually. And he's been floated around for head coaching jobs before. I don't know if Hobbs has a ton of interest in being a head coach. I think he really loves pitching. And I think he's a nerd about the pitching and just kind of loves that.
Yeah. Well, I want to say this too, and this is nothing against Nate Thompson or anything. I really don't want that, because it's like you're an established program. Yeah. And I just feel like more often than not, when you have a coach in waiting or you promote an assistant coach to replace a legend, it almost never works out. Like, and to me, I was someone who was irate when Tony Vitello and Dave Van Horn got into it. You know why? Because I was like, you don't come after my guy. Mm-hmm. Once you come after my guy, I'm done with you. But because of seeing how it's like, hey, if they're cool, I was like, okay, well then I'm cool. I'm cool.
And that's how everyone's stance should be.
Yes.
That's really how it should be.
Yes, but if you had to give me a choice between, do you want Nate Thompson or Tony Vitello? I'm like, easy. Tony Vitello, not even a question. It's like, because I'm telling you right now, I can already see it. It's going to be Dave Van Horn. He's going to have his national championship trophy. You're sitting there right there at the press conference table. He's going to be over here to the right. You're going to have Yurchek at the very end of the left, and right smack in the middle of them is going to be Tony Vitello. And it's going to start with Yurchek giving a statement. Then Dave Van Horn's going to talk about how this has been great with his national championship, as he is still probably a little hungover from his celebration a little bit. And then you're going to turn it over to Tony V with that Razorback hat on. He's going to put it on with his jersey, and he's going to go on about how it's the mecca of college baseball, and he can't wait to get started. And those Tennessee fans are going to be pissed. They're going to be so mad.
John,
it's going to be great.
I very much hope you are right. I really do, because that would be awesome. And, every piece of what you just said, from the Arkansas winning the title to DVH picking his guy and it being Tony and Tony being all in, I'm all for it. And look, I think that would also make Arkansas kind of the villains of college baseball, which secretly that's where I want to be. That's just where we want.
But people also kept bringing up with, if Tony Vitello came here, those shenanigans they pulled over at Tennessee, those antics aren't going to happen. I'm like, folks, do you think that Dave Van Horn's going to be like, hey, Tony, come over here and bring those antics? The reason that Tony Vitello had to, not saying that it's the only reason, but one of the reasons why they had those antics is because it was Tennessee baseball and no one cared about him. You have to stand out a little bit. And so him able to recruit those types of guys to have that type of culture is the only way you could get those players to come to a place like Tennessee, because people want to go to Arkansas. They want to go to LSU. They want to go to these other places. So when he comes to Arkansas, that antic stuff's not coming with him. It's not going to be a part of it at all.
Well, and also, I just think that's an overrated topic to begin with, because Arkansas teams they do have a professionalism about them, and they have just a way they play the game. But it's not, Arkansas's had guys who have a little bit of that personality. Like Christian Franklin, he never saw a home run he didn't like to admire, you know? DVH will 100%. My ice Colt Minjo, he will announce his retirement on Natty State.
This was part of it.
Especially by that point. I mean, we're talking years down the line, right? But, John, but just for conversation's sake, because I hope you're right about Tony V, but just for conversation's sake, let's say you're not, and Tony V has no interest, and people want to do the Nate Thompson thing. Is it crazy that maybe Nate Thompson takes a job after this season or next, and he goes and he's a head coach somewhere else? I mean, we're talking about Tony V as this awesome candidate. he was in Nate Thompson's shoes not that long ago. So, hey, if Nate Thompson went to like a Georgia or wherever, I guess Wes Johnson's there now. Wes Johnson's another name to remember.
Yeah.
You know, and he goes and he has a little bit of success and he gets those reps and it's clear he's a good head coach. Maybe then you could make that move. But yeah, I don't know. But again, I also trust DVH at all costs. So if DVH, whatever DVH says is what we're all going to talk ourselves into. And if he comes out and he's like, it's Wes Johnson or it's Nate Thompson or it's Tony V, or if it's a completely random guy, like we're all going to get on board real quick, and we probably should.
It is pretty crazy when you think about how Dave Van Horn has, under his tree, he's had a lot of great coaches, but there's two of them now that are at big-time SEC programs as the head coach with Wes Johnson and Tony Vitello. Like, because they were never the coach at the same time, though, right?
Let's think. Wes Johnson,
Actually,
I believe
2017, I think they both were.
2017, I think, was Thompson's first year,
okay,
right?
so then they were never together.
They maybe were there for like a few weeks at the same time.
Could you imagine that type of? I mean, I know that Wes Johnson, like, just also 2018, some of those players were because of Tony Vitello.
Oh yeah, dude, and I don't want to get too crazy with what I want to be very careful with how I word this. DVH he had a lot of success before Tony V. He's had a lot of success after. He was always going to have a ton of success at Arkansas no matter what. But I will say Tony V really took the recruiting for Arkansas baseball up a notch, and DVH himself would tell you that. I mean, it was part of that was the success Arkansas had, and it was kind of a perfect timing. But Arkansas's recruiting really joined the elite ranks in about the same time Tony V came in there, and you started seeing number 2 classes, number 1, number 3, and it was like Arkansas really wasn't recruiting at an elite level early in DVH's tenure. And recruiting rankings were tough to follow. So
especially in college
but I just mean
baseball.
like they weren't having all these guys who were turning down $1 million to come to Arkansas like consistently. It was not at the same level, and I'm not saying Tony V gets all the credit for that. But I think that he clearly has something going on because he's recruited at a high level everywhere he's been, including Arkansas, Tennessee, and I think he's clearly got something special in that regard. And so I'm not saying that he was the secret success to all of DVH's happiness or anything, but like I do think that he deserves a lot of credit when we look back in hindsight of Arkansas taking this leap because they've been good under DVH all the time, but they took a little bit of a jump forward into that elite ranks. And we talk about coaches handing it off to who and who can take them to the new level. I think Tony V deserves a lot of credit, and so it'd be kind of poetic if he were able to come back and finish the job that he helped start.
Yeah, I would love it. I personally think you couldn't do much better job of bringing it in. It'd be interesting to see who his assistants would be because who knows, maybe he would bring in because somebody brought up Bobby Wernes.
I was
maybe
going to say,
he'd elevate Bobby Wernes.
I've got 2 candidates from the comments to throw your way. Bobby Wernes is the first one. Want to see Bobby if the timing. And again, timing is the key thing. We haven't even mentioned that yet, but that's kind of what this whole thing comes down to.
Bobby Wernes was under Vitello, right, when he was at Arkansas.
Correct.
So
I mean,
there's a connection
2015.
there.
There's a connection there, and Bobby Wernes is another guy who probably at some point in the next few years is going to take that jump to be a hitting coach somewhere, whether it's at Arkansas or wherever. He's done a tremendous job with the catchers, John, and we've talked about that off air.
We have.
We'll rant about that plenty on the Bombastic podcast soon. But I think that Bobby is an interesting name to keep an eye on for the next however long. This guy clearly loves Arkansas, and so again, if DVH retires next year, it's a different conversation than if DVH retires in 4 years, and it's going to be a different conversation if he retires in 7 years. And so it's like timing will kind of end up being what the end all be all. But I do want to ask you, someone floated the name Andrew Ellis as being groomed for the baseball job.
I'm going to take the comments away from you. I'm going to start, because you're the ones putting these up. I'm going to start taking them away. You can see my hands.
I'm not.
Yeah, right. It's like all these things. Just like, well, somebody know. Andrew said, this guy says it needs to be a politician. Well, you were the basketball coach. Now you're going to be the baseball coach.
Now, look, if I were going to be doing it, it'd be the baseball coach. And really, I'd want to be the pitching coach. I don't want to be the head.
You have the pitching coach look.
I'm not an alpha. I'm not a leader of men, but I am a good, I'm the pitching coach who can pull you aside and kind of one-on-one.
You seem like the guy that can do a really slow trot out to the mound when you're trying to stall.
The pitching coach in Rookie of the Year for the Cubs?
Yeah, Brigma?
Yeah, that's me. That's kind of my vibe that I'm going for.
You got what he says. He's like, some people like to put ice on their arms. Some people think heat is the way to go, but I have the solution. Hot ice. You heat up the ice cubes. It's the best of both worlds. It's one of my favorite movies as a kid.
Luke Bonfield for head coach. Again, another...
Where's he at these days?
I don't know where he's at these days. He was at Tennessee as a volunteer assistant. I guess he probably went to go try and get a paid gig.
Tennessee volunteer
assistant. I didn't mean to do that. But another Tony V guy that, there's a connection there.
I mean,
we can't touch on all of these comments.
We wish we could, though. Wish we could. But yeah, Bobby Wernes, going back to that point, too, I could totally see. I'm not saying that it would be, because I wouldn't want this to happen, but if it was something to where Tony Vitello, became the coach, and he was like, all right, well, let's elevate Bobby to the hitting coach. And then pitching coach, who knows? Maybe Hobbs would stay on. I don't know. Maybe.
That'd be odd.
That'd be stupid. That'd be stupid.
By the way, Matt Hobbs' daughter apparently is going to be like a historically great basketball player.
Where's she playing at?
She's like 14 years old. Maybe not. She might be like 12. But she's apparently Hobbs' wife was also a really good athlete. I think she was a D1 athlete. I can't remember if she played basketball or if it was like volleyball. But apparently she's really good. And I have it on good authority. Someone who coached her youth. And he says she was a very good basketball player. And she's like 6'1" already. So
I got a question for you. Who's a better pitching coach, Wes Johnson or Matt Hobbs? Yeah, putting you on the spot there, Andrew.
You got
to be honest about it.
I love Matt Hobbs. I think Matt Hobbs is an elite pitching coach. I think he's probably one of the top. Realistically, I'm being dead serious, John. I think Matt Hobbs is a top 3 pitching coach in all of college baseball. I really believe that. Wes Johnson is number 1, though, dude. That is the.
You know what? It's crazy. I agree with you,
dude.
I agree with you, man.
Dude. So I had a buddy who played baseball at LSU, and I sent him a Wes Johnson video one time where it was like one of those like, I don't remember. It was when they first got that performance, whatever, and he was kind of talking about it and talking about the track, man, and all the stuff they do, and I'm not gonna say this LSU player's name, although I will at some point. He was like, man, I would love, and it's funny because LSU ended up hiring Wes Johnson.
Because he was only there for 2 years, right?
Yes, and this was after this buddy of mine who said, man, God, I'd love to play for that guy. Like, oh, I want him to, and like he has that kind of the pitchers as an elite pitcher myself. We all look to Wes Johnson as the guy. He's the true man. I mean, and look, people used to make fun of I sent out a funny tweet today, actually, John. I like to prop up my own funny tweets, but someone at North Carolina tore their UCL and their Friday night starter is out for the year or whatever. So I quoted and I said, Matt Hobbs strikes again. But Wes Johnson was the original Matt Hobbs because people used to blame him for ruining the arms. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Arkansas had, I think it was Isaiah Campbell's arm who had like the weird stuff, and people were kind of blaming Wes Johnson for that. Keaton McKinney had a lot of weird injuries that people kind of blamed Wes Johnson for. And I'm just like, and now they're doing it with Matt Hobbs. People need you to understand, pitching is not a natural thing to do. That's why people keep getting hurt.
Yes.
That's why every pitcher that pitches at an elite level has Tommy John at some point or another. Like if Jackson Wiggins didn't have it last year, he was going to have it in A ball or double A ball. Like all these pitchers that throw 100, it is not meant to happen. Our arms are not constructed that way to do this motion at a high level 100 times. So it's like all these coaches that we try to act like are the reason for everything. It's so stupid.
Well, I remember like one of the first, I won't say the first, but one of the early press conferences I ever went to and covered was when Dave Van Horn hired Wes Johnson. And I remember going into that little, it was almost like it's like the suites up there, like in Baum Stadium. It was like the back room of the suites. I don't know. It was really weird. They didn't have like a press conference room. It's for like, but we like met up in it was literally looked like our kitchen over here. That's what it was. And I remember just literally sitting in the bar stools was Wes Johnson and Dave Van Horn. And I remember Dave was like introducing him and all that. I still have pictures of it. And then he like introduced Wes Johnson. I could tell there was some up here where he was just like, it was almost like insane, but in like a good way. I was like, this guy's going to be awesome. Because he was just like, you could tell there's some, immediately he was almost like zoomed out of the press conference because he was already thinking about, velocity. Like just like he could just tell he's just nothing but pitching. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I love about Matt Hobbs is they actually are very similar. And I feel like Hobbs has done a great job of taking what Wes Johnson had already kind of built and running with it. Wes Johnson now is the head coach at Georgia, by the way. So keep an eye on the Bulldogs. That's going to be fun.
I know he is, but it's like sometimes I keep forgetting that he's there too, and I'm like he's being that guy. So.
Hayden Pounds wants to know if Jackson Rutledge would have stuck around at Arkansas if Wes Johnson didn't go to the Twins. Well, I got news to report for you, Hayden. Jackson left before Johnson left, if I recall correctly, because I think Jackson entered the transfer. He quit the team like mid 2018 season. Halfway.
What's funny is I forgot all about that until you just got
Jackson Rutledge. For those that don't remember, he was like 6'8", 250, just a massive he was the number 1 recruit in that class that year, which it contained Heston Kjerstad and Casey Martin and all these dudes. Jackson Rutledge was like the big arm, and he ended up being a first-round pick out of Sanjak. But he came to Arkansas for 1 year, threw 100, but was all over the place and kind of didn't have a role by conference play, and so he just dipped, and Wes Johnson ended up leaving later, but I think Jackson Rutledge he needed to go somewhere where he could just pitch and get reps, and he's a freak talent, but he was a true freshman and he was not happy with his role, but that team was trying to win a national title and they almost did. Would have been nice if Jackson Rutledge hadn't quit the team mid-year so they could have had an extra arm down the stretch. Would have been nice, but he wanted to go somewhere where he could be a starter, and so he did. He went to a JUCO and then got drafted in the first round. So good for him.
That could be a great segment of thinking about all the players that like woulda, coulda, shoulda for Razorback sports of like, if this player didn't leave the team, this player didn't transfer out, this player didn't get hurt.
Right.
Just like the differences that could be made.
Well, I think
for so
it
many
was
different
Rutledge
years.
and Bryce Bonin. You remember Bryce Bonin as a
my
freshman in
gosh,
2018? Like
dude.
they were the two like headliners of that class, and I think they both kind of by the end of the year like wanted a firm promise that they were going to be starting. And neither could get that because it was just like, that's not how this works around here. And also, y'all weren't good enough as freshmen to warrant that, you know? They gave Jackson Rutledge a chance to start against ULM in a midweek, and he gave up like 4 runs in 2 innings. And I'm like, you don't get to complain about your role after you do that.
Who was it Poche? Was he also a guy who was on the team and got kicked off the team?
Yeah, like Colin Poche.
Colin
or something.
Poche, yeah.
They've had some interesting ones over the years, but honestly, Arkansas baseball has the least amount of the ones that actually went on to go be good somewhere else. I feel like
that left
It's
the
pretty-
program and ended up.
Yeah, like I feel like football, there's always those guys who like go and they're like, oh crap, that guy's good. Or basketball really has had a couple that have not been stars, but have had success other places. Baseball, I feel like hasn't had a ton.
What was it? I guess what's his name went to Alabama last year.
Dominic Temez.
Yeah,
Are you talking-
Temez.
Temez.
And then Missouri was Leach, right?
Yeah.
So
and I would say Temez had a decent little like run, but I mean,
I could even make the argument that being the backup catcher on Arkansas might be better than a starting catcher on Alabama.
You could make
I
that
could
case.
make that argument.
But with Temez, it's interesting. People brought that up as if it's supposed to be some crime. Like all that happened was Casey Opitz was supposed to get drafted in 2020 because
And
he
he
was a
stayed.
junior, but then COVID happened, so he didn't get drafted, and so he was back for another year. And Temez, wanted to go get, so he went to a JUCO, and then from the JUCO went to Alabama. It's like I don't think the coaching staff deserves a knock here. I think they kept Casey Opitz, which was a no-brainer, and Arkansas's, and then they brought in Michael Turner after that. I feel like it's
who's the best JUCO player Arkansas baseball's had over the past 10 years?
One that's underrated, Trevor Steffen.
Yes,
Trevor
I agree.
Steffen. Now draft wise, I think he was drafted in the 3rd round. He might be like the highest drafted JUCO guy they've had. He was a stud, and he's pitching in the big leagues now. He's had a nice little role for the Guardians, not to be confused with the Indians.
Yeah, we are.
I guess I shouldn't say that.
2024.
Censor that. But no, Trevor Steffen was a fun one. I mean, I'm trying to think. They've had. I mean, Brady Slavens is not the headliner. There's Matt Goodhart had a really good run at Arkansas.
He was good.
All SEC every
was
first
Caleb
team.
Cowley technically JUCO?
Caleb Cowley's a JUCO.
Yeah.
He was he was like 2 different JUCOs.
Yeah.
Because he was like Florida State, then he went to one JUCO, and then went to the other one.
Because Trevor Ezell was just a transfer, right?
Yeah, he
wasn't
was
a
SEMO.
JUCO.
He was Southeast
That's right.
Missouri.
That's right.
But he's up there
great.
on the list of just grad transfers. And now that list is starting to get pretty long too. And you think of guys like Trevor Ezell and Jared Wagner and a few other guys like that. I mean, Arkansas, maybe JUCO. Who's another JUCO guy? Oh, Jalen Battles has to be in the
of course.
conversation.
Yeah,
I mean,
I forget him.
I mean, dude, that 2022 team, or 2021 and 2022, they're JUCO. And that's another thing Nate Thompson has really been good at. His brother, I want to say, is the head coach at one of the top JUCOs in the country, and Thompson has some experience there. But they've had a pretty good high success rate on hitting those JUCO guys. Jax Biggers being thrown around in the chat. He was an awesome one. Yeah, I mean, think about that. Like they've had like 7 or 8 everyday starters that have been good, and that's just in the last like 3 or 4 years.
So because that made me think of something else. If you were going to take one Friday night, a Dave Van Horn team, for one Friday night to go up against all the other Dave Van Horn teams, which one are you taking? Which year? For a Friday night.
So
not
just
for the
a
whole
Friday
team.
night game.
Just a Friday night game.
And I get the team, but for that Friday night?
Yes, that 1 year team.
I think it's got to be the 2018 team, even though I think Isaiah Campbell. No, actually, I'm going 2019. I lied.
2019, really?
Only here's why though. Here's my case. Now, the 2019 team did not have a better postseason run than the 2018 team. Offensively, if you go back and look at the numbers, they were a little bit better because you had Kerstad as a year older, Fletcher's a year older, Casey Martin, did I say his name? Kerstad. Those guys were all a year older, and then they had Trevor Ezell, and they had a nice little mix of talent on that roster. So offensively, their numbers were just as good, and I think Campbell statistically definitely was a better Friday night starter than Blaine Knight. I know that's like sacrilegious to some, but
only because Blaine Knight went undefeated.
Right, and Campbell went 12-1 or
Yeah,
whatever,
I think he lost only
and the
one game,
one is
yeah.
like a 3-1 loss to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And Campbell, dude, for my money, that's the best Friday night starter Arkansas's had. Not best career, not best whatever, but just by the time he got to his redshirt junior year, he was dominant.
Yeah, because even the 2021
Cronin also was the closer for both teams.
Yeah.
I like the 2019 team a little bit, even though they didn't accomplish what I hope they did for one night. I like
dude,
them.
and this was what the thing about that 2019 team is like. They went 0-2 in barbecue, but like, wasn't the final scores those 2-1 and 1-0? So
yeah,
it's like it wasn't
both
like
one
they
score.
just went up there like because the 2015 World Series team. They just had no business being in the World Series that year. Like they got blown out 0-2, and it like made sense.
Yeah, it was like fine.
That 2019, and I know baseball is just the way it is, but you're talking about, man, 3 or 4 pitches different, and it's Arkansas's 2-0 in those games. It could really change the entire dynamic.
What I think that team's kind of undoing was the pitching. I mean, they did, the pitching isn't what got them in the end, weirdly enough. But I think having a true freshman Patrick Wicklander and a true freshman Connor Nolan, that was the starting rotation. Was the best pitcher in the SEC, and then 2 guys who we really at that time didn't trust at all. Shout out to Patrick Wicklander, though, friend of the program. I rock with Rick, and he had obviously ended up having a great career. But you think about back to that 2019 team, that was what made me nervous about them. And so it is funny that the offense is what did them in. But Hayden Pounds also brought up Easton Morrell homering against us in that College World Series. Easton Morrell's another one that 2018 recruiting class. Heston Kerstad and Casey Martin were like mid-tier prospects in that class. Cole Turney was another one who was expected to be a huge. He was like a top 5 player in that class. Easton Morrell was a huge prospect. Bryce Bonin, Jackson Rutledge, Zeb Vermillion. Like the names go on. Cole Ramage was in that class. It's like kind of crazy to look back on. And all those guys on that team either were successful at Arkansas or went on to be successful somewhere else. So it's pretty, in hindsight, it's like, dang, that was a special class.
Yeah.
But yeah, Easton Morrell homered against them in the 2019 game, as did Josh Jung, if I believe. Young, is it Young or Jung? That dude for the Rangers. I don't know. Either way.
Jung, something like that.
Jung,
yeah.
I think it is Jung. Yeah, 2020. Okay, this is an interesting.
Yeah, the 2020 season got stopped by COVID.
Okay, so you remember they went 0-3 in Minute Maid in that early season thing, and people were like freaking out, and then they lost a midweek game to somebody.
Because Connor Nolan was their ace to start the year.
Yeah, well, and we mentioned Patrick Wicklander. He got off to like I don't know what he might have been. He might have been point shaving to start that year. I don't know what. That was the worst.
It was terrible.
He ever pitched. And Kevin Kopps, crazy enough, who was actually on all of these teams. Although 2018 he was hurt, and we haven't even really mentioned him. But in 2020 he got off to a horrible start too. And Zeb Vermillion was the closer, and Connor Nolan was the ace. And it was like, again, like at the time that season got shut down, people were really worried about that team. But, I just mentioned some of those guys that were there offensively. Braden Webb was on that team as well. I mean, you had Robert Moore as a freshman. You had Brady Slavens there, I believe. Was he there? No, he wasn't. He was not there.
I always assume he is.
Casey Opitz was there, and he was off to it. But that team, I mean, and you had Heston Kerstad. You had the best hitter in the country.
That dude was winning the Golden Spikes.
That offense was about to be so good, big picture. And they'd kind of had their struggles early, but that offense was going to be so good. Christian Franklin, another one. He was off to a crazy start. I think that team was going to win a ton of games, and they would have been interesting. And so, yeah, you can make an argument for that team. I wouldn't. It's not a crazy thing at all.
COVID sucked for all the reasons we all know. But to me, the one that was like, it robbed us of Heston Kerstad's final year at Arkansas. The guy was number 2 pick in the MLB draft.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Man. Will Lennox wants to know what we think on the Muss situation. Will, I'm going to be honest with you. Take the little red dot and just move it back like
very beginning.
Maybe like an hour at least.
Yeah, you'll hear all about it, man. You'll hear all about it. So yeah, we've talked about that a lot. So I know we got to take one final break before we close up shop and get to the rest of the show and have some things of did y'all see this? Because there are some pretty funny things there too. But before we do that, of course, we want to talk about one of our great sponsors here on Natty State Sports as well as the John Nabors Show, and that is Superior Contracting and Development out of Vilonia. We know that the weather's been a little bit nicer here the past few days, thank goodness. And it's actually looking up to be a pretty nice weekend. So when the weather starts getting a little bit warmer, you want to start doing some things to your house, right? You thought about getting that deck out there. You really wanted to have a nice deck or a patio to be out there, maybe a pool, something like that. Well, Superior Contracting and Developing has you covered. They are licensed residential and commercial contractors specializing in all aspects of home rebuilding and remodeling. And they handle everything from fencing and drainage, additions and remodeling to your existing structure, all the way to the land development and ground-up construction. They literally do it all. So you can call them today for all of your interior and exterior construction and remodeling needs, and they're very easy to get a hold of. You can call them today at 501-453-3053. That's 501-453-3053. You can also email them at contracting@superiorark.com or visit the website at superiorark.com. And even though they're based out of Vilonia, they are fully statewide. So no matter where you're at in the state of Arkansas, in the Natty State, if you will, they're going to come and help you out over at Superior Contracting and Development. So check them out today for all of your remodeling and interior, exterior design right here with Superior Contracting and Development. We're going to take our final break here on the John Nabors Show here on Natty State Sports. So stay with us on the other side of the break.
We not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we not done. We not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we not done. We not done yet.
Fayetteville is 1,843 miles away, but the call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
Let's stick my dick in the mashed potatoes. Go Hogs.
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
Got Andrew Ellis over there on his phone, not paying attention. It's fine. He's probably breaking some sources. I got Adam Schefter over there.
Yeah.
About some big baseball sources about to get broke.
It was one of my most trusted sources, Hillary Frank.
She's the one that helps you out with all of the takes that you have on baseball.
She's the method behind all of this madness. I am nothing.
Yeah. I kind of feel like that's how Schefter is too. He's got somebody.
I
It's
remember
he's the
Schefter
face of everything.
When I was a kid watching ESPN, and Schefter had to like leave in the middle of it was like the trade deadline. He had to like leave while he was on air to go take a call, and I was like, holy cow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And now that like I got like one little minor taste of an actual reporter life, and I was like, that sucks. I don't want to do that ever again.
No. There's only certain people that can do that and that need to do that, and he's one of them. A few things I wanted to bring up. What's happening here?
Kim Mulkey likes to do weird stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that.
She likes to draw attention to herself.
That looks like an E. ESU.
Yeah, it doesn't like if you just like kind of screen grabbed it and cropped out everything else. I don't know if at first glance I would be able to tell for sure that was an LSU shirt. Just looking at it.
Yeah, like other than the colors kind of are golden.
Yeah, and like you see 3 letters and you're like, okay. But it's like off first glance, like
looks
my
like a W
eyes,
instead of a U.
It almost looks like, like EGU. Like, I don't know. It just looks weird.
Yeah, can we stop with the, listen, I'm all about fashion, obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we're clearly
fashionable
stylish
people.
guys who put a lot into our looks.
Yeah. That's why we have a merch shop that you guys need to check out and get some of these sweet shirts. NattyStateSports.com/shop. But let's relax, okay? We're trying too hard when we get to this point. I'm not hating on any woman's fashion or anybody, but I'm like this. It's about the LSU element, and forget what the shininess and all that.
Yeah.
The font of the writing that looks like you said EGW is what it could be. East,
well, ECW
Georgia,
wrestling,
Western.
Throwback to the Tommy Dreamer days.
Yeah, it could be so many different things there. So, Mike, I saw that. I was like, what are we doing here? Come on.
Hey, I've got a funny story about Kim Mulkey, actually. I mentioned that buddy that played at LSU. Well, he played with Kramer Robertson, who is the son. I don't know if you, John, did you know about that?
You know what? I heard that once. That
him and
they
Robert
were
Moore.
related, right?
Yeah, SEC middle infielders that have famous parents. Yeah, it's interesting. But Yeah, so
Oh, hey, Robert Moore, do you know about him?
Exactly. Yeah, that's where I was going. I'm glad you got it. But yeah, so this was actually before Kim Mulkey was even at LSU, but she was really tight with Paul Mainieri. So she was always, and obviously her son was playing, so she was around the program a lot. But Paul Mainieri would let her come to those scrimmages, and LSU doesn't open their scrimmages as much as Arkansas, especially in the fall. But she would come and sit behind home plate and just dog cuss her son while he's taking ground balls, while he's whatever. And just yelling obscenities at him, and she is a terrifying woman. It seems like LSU's gymnastics coach. I forget her name. She has an interesting name, but she has a similar vibe to Kim Mulkey. It's like Dee Bro or Kiki Bro or something like that. But the LSU gymnastics coach, similar to Kim Mulkey in vibe of just like being a terrifying woman who you respect for some reason. You know, you're like you can tell when she walks in a room, like, oh crap, like,
I was like, I don't want this. This
woman means business.
I will say, I don't like Brandon Walker usually, but I do like his comment where he says Kim Mulkey looks like the teacher that will respond, "I don't know, can you?" when you asked if you can go to the bathroom.
Good tweet. It's a good tweet.
It's pretty on point there. So, also in some other news, Nick Saban was caught. He spent his Monday golfing with Tim Time, Grammy-nominated artist Travis Scott, and Grammy winner 50 Cent. Saban was one of the number of celebrities who turned out for the Mr. October Celebrity Golf Classic in Palm City, Florida. Charity event is put on by MLB legend Reggie Jackson.
John, I have horrible news to report. Well, not horrible news to report. I have a sad realization happening in my brain. So I was on the internet earlier today. I'm an Astros fan, like we talked about. I saw a picture of Randy Arozarena, who is a baseball player that you don't know because he plays baseball, but he's an MLB outfielder who's, had some fun playoff moments. He played for the Cardinals and the Rays now. Well, he's been kind of a guy that people might think is on the move, and I saw a picture of him and Travis Scott. I saw a bunch of Astros accounts tweeting it out, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, dude, I love Randy Arozarena. That'd be awesome if he's coming to the Astros, and now that you just read that, I'm pretty sure that they just took a picture at that golf tournament, and so not as cool of a situation as I thought it was, but it is what it is. Boys, we are almost done here, so get those questions in if you have anything crazy to say before we get out of here. John is still battling the flu, or influenza. I don't know what we're calling it these days, but
I'm calling it BS, man.
You put together a good performance, though. I feel like you've made it. You've held strong. We're almost to the finish line.
I hate this so much. It's like you don't know how much you have to talk until you have to talk, and then suddenly you start coughing and you can't stop.
Well, it's funny. I'm glad I at least now know that like you were feeling whatever, but I was catching weird looks from you early in the show, and I was like, did I say something weird? Like, you kind of eyeballing me funny, like, but really you were just like holding in your.
Yeah, really, it's just dying.
You were just being a trooper.
I'm sitting over here with cough drops. I got water. I got the little.
Oh, we totally forgot. We forgot.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We changed it. Remember?
We did change it, didn't we?
Yeah, we're gonna have to tease everybody.
Boys, we got a good. We'll get more into it tomorrow, I guess. We like to leave them with a little teaser. We're gonna have some fun on tomorrow's stream. Someone was asking if we were gonna do it. Samuel Brooks. I remember that was from memory, Samuel. So you should be honored that I just remember that off the top of my head. But he was asking if we were gonna have the stream. We will have it, and we got a fun surprise. It's not that fun of a surprise.
Depends on what's fun.
Yeah, it's not a fun surprise. We're gonna have fun, so hopefully y'all have fun, and Arkansas is gonna win. Yeah, there's Samuel Brooks, on command.
Letting everybody know he's still there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Him and I saw Kingsley in the chat. I forgot to get to his comment. Crap, what did he say?
Can't lead it without a Kingsley comment.
I think. Oh, I know what he said. And this is another one. Remembering off the top of my head, he was saying what we said, which was if Devo had been kicked off the team, Muss would have had the statement would have been different. You know, when people were kind of asking about that. 30-second Muss recap, please. Brian Crabtree. Muss is never coaching another game at Arkansas. He's done.
You're gonna clip that, and then everyone's gonna say,
I'm kidding. Brian, for real though, I told someone asked earlier, take that little red dot and scroll that sucker all the way back. We talked for like an hour and a half.
Or how about this? Brian? We are up on the podcast network. So Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all of them. So you can go listen to the podcast show. Will be up there. And also on YouTube, you can scroll to the very beginning and be able to check that out too. Real quick, before we close up shop, a couple of things. Thank you. I'm going to bring up Thomas because you spelled my name right.
Yeah. There you go.
We remember this as the John Nabors flu show. Well, we're going to remember it as the day John Nabors almost died. on the show. So
well, we'll see if your condition worsens. Tomorrow's stream could have John in a hospital bed. We might have him Hugh Freeze style. You remember when he coached that game?
Put my hands up like that. Real quick, I just want to bring this up. Jerry Jones said the Cowboys are going in all in on 2024. It says, quote, "We were going to be all in. I would say that you will see us this coming year. We're not building it for the future."
Hey, John, you ready for a verbal meme? Me before placing a 9-leg parlay on a Thursday night football game. We're going all in. I would say that you'll see us this coming year, not build it for the future. We're going all in.
You can put that out there. Yeah, you and Jerry Jones, and you can make that a meme and get it rolling. Yeah.
I love that. I love the guy who's like, I know that we suck and we have a disappointing thing every year, but this is the
Well, what are you doing every other year if you're not going all in?
Like,
what does that mean?
We were not all in, but now we are.
But now we're for real this time.
We've always been, we've been sacrificing a little bit for the future this whole time.
Cowboys, man. The Cowboys killing me. All right, let's close up shop. What'd you learn today?
I always forget that this question is coming.
I'm about to say, it's not like you haven't been on the show for two straight weeks.
Since we're asking for a 30-second recap, I learned that Scotty is really prepared for Musselman to go. I thought it was funny earlier when you were like, hey, what do y'all think of all these rumors and stuff? And Scotty's like, got to get him out of here. I enjoyed my time seeing him, but we'll farewell to him. He was prepared to close the door already. What I learned is that these next 4 weeks are going to suck in terms of being on the internet and reading stuff. Also, I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't address the fact that there are some crazy, and I do mean crazy allegations going on with Devontae Davis. And look, guys, we like to have fun as much as anybody. I would be lying if I said we didn't laugh at some of these jokes we've been seeing on the internet. But try to remember that these are like real human beings. And like, I'm not trying to do the whole moral thing. If what these rumors are saying, if what everybody's saying is true, it probably isn't like a funny thing to joke about. Because that would be a seriously dark situation if we're talking about someone who's struggling. Let's just relax a little bit. If you have a funny meme, send it to me personally, and I will laugh at it and I will give you credit. But we don't need to share public things about who's doing what with who and who's putting what where. Relax, guys. Let's. And I'm serious. Again, we've laughed about some of the stuff, but it's like, guys, relax. We do not have to talk about stuff like this. And I know the team sucks and they're making it hard, but let's be cool. Let's have some damn respect.
Cool. So cool.
So cool, right,
Let's be
John?
cool.
Hey, we went overboard today.
I know. We need to get out of here. I'm dying over here, folks. I'm sorry. I got this, though. We're good. Made it to the end. Stretch. Folks, appreciate everybody listening in and watching into the John Nabors Show here on Natty State Sports. Be sure to like and subscribe to the show itself here on Natty State Sports. And you can follow me on Twitter at John Nabors Show. Also, Andrew Ellis at EllisAndrew_.
But apparently
same sports show, same sports channel, tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We will see you then.